Sports Talk coming to you on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Two of the three Stooges are here with you. Jake LeBon along with Dan Lucero. Brendan Dorzinski on the road to Brookings, South Dakota for some Ichabod hoops. The Ichabods will be taking on the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State in women's action. That'll be on our sister station, Country 106.9. So it is myself and Dan with you up until 6 o'clock. We've got lots to get to. We are going to tell you what Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and the Kansas City Chiefs have to do the rest of the way to continue to put up 31 points per game. I'm going to ask Dan a very serious question. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to do it in a few minutes. And I'm going to really know whether or not you're a real NFL fan.
Is it a test?
It's kind of a test.
It's kind of a test.
Okay. Kind of a test.
Okay.
We'll get to that. We'll talk a little more K-State, the transfer portal. Holy Moses.
Moves fast, doesn't it?
It's the coolest thing to be a part of. I want a portal. Can I get in the transfer portal? Is that allowed? I don't have any eligibility left, but I want to get in it. Apparently it's a cool thing to do. We'll get with that. A little overreaction, proper reaction. We're going to talk with Jesse Newell. Travis Kelce. There is one big change for Travis Kelce, and it does not involve dating Taylor Swift. It doesn't. It involves it on the field, actually. Maybe that whole buck the trend where, he played well against the Raiders. She wasn't there. So maybe, that whole theory of when she's in attendance, he's really, really good, and when she's not, he's not. That kind of bucked the trend there. Maybe that was just an outlier. We'll have to wait and see. But we got lots to get to. We will talk to Michael Swain coming up as well. What is wrong with you? All that here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let us know your thoughts on our text line, 785-272-9429. Very simple, very easy if you want to interact with us on our text line, or you can give us a shout on our YouTube page. It's easy to get to. You go to youtube.com. All the youths are doing it. You type in 580 Sports Talk.
Some of the olds are doing it too.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
We all got to try to advance in the technological world.
Those are the only kinds of people. There are youths and olds. And as a youth, I myself, personally, because I'm not an old.
When do you get to the old? Is it 40? Am I there next year?
Maybe. I don't know. It
ain't going to hurt my feelings.
I guess it depends on who you ask. I feel now like in my 20s, I would have said, yes, you're old when you're 40. Now I feel like as I near 40, old is when you hit Social Security.
So we're talking 65.
Yeah, we're a ways off.
That's a big difference.
Yes, until then you're a youth.
Okay.
It's like Homer Simpson's whole thing about college. There are two kinds of people in college, jocks and nerds. And as a jock, it's my duty to give the nerds a hard time because he's not a nerd, so he's got to be a jock. And I'm not old, so I got to be a youth, right?
Or is it more so a mindset?
Oh, it's definitely a mindset.
I know a lot of old people who are 29.
Some old souls?
Yeah. Yes.
There
are people younger than me. I'm like, dude, go drink some Metamucil, okay? My goodness.
Well, that's good for your gut health. I mean, that's just common sense.
Some Geritol.
Now you're only as old as you feel, right? That's the old adage.
And then we're going to talk about that with Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
old T. Kelce.
So yes, whether you are a youth
or an old,
I say it like what's his name, Schmidt from New Girl. Youths.
I love New Girl. Fantastic show.
Really good show.
If you don't like it, well, see, New Girl was the second coming of a younger generation's Friends. That's what New Girl was.
Interesting thought.
I
don't know that it has the cultural cachet of Friends. I don't think anything maybe ever will again.
Nothing will, because that was prime time when there was no DVR,
no streaming,
and it was just you had to be
there on Thursday night in front of the TV to hear the refreshments.
And then if you had to go to the bathroom, you had to run yesterday. We DVR'd a show for Lawson, and the commercials came on, and he just yelled out, "Dad, fast forward!" I'm just like, this little kid has no idea. You used to have to put away things and be like, no, I can't go out right now. It's 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. I got to watch,
You know how long your show was? It was 30 minutes, including the commercials.
Dad, fast
wasn't no
forward.
22. Wasn't no skip intro.
Yeah. I just wanted I looked at him and I just shook my head.
This is starting to make me reconsider where we fall in the youth versus olds.
Exactly.
Spectrum. Yeah.
But let's get to something involving the youths and the olds, and that is involving why the Chiefs offense all of a sudden got a boost in the game against the Raiders. And to me, this is where I am hoping the game against the Raiders was not a blip. It wasn't the outlier. This needs to be the trend. Patrick Mahomes threw the football 34 times. Okay. That's about a good number. I thought the Chiefs ran the ball a lot more than they did, but maybe it was because Pacheco only got 15 carries. To me, Pacheco has to carry the football 15 times every game minimum. Like, I don't care what happens in the game. He got to get his quota. He needs 15 carries.
Helps you set a tone.
I think it just balances it out a lot better. So that was a nice thing. But also, for the first time this year, somebody other than Travis Kelce was a guy who was eating. And the guy who was eating, hopefully he wasn't eating himself, and that was Rashee Rice. Pass attempts, 34. Who's the ball going to, right? We talk about, okay, it's not just snaps that you play, but it's also who's getting the passes thrown to. Against the Eagles, Justin Watson was targeted 11 times. I like Justin Watson. That would be asking, for my age, like Steve Kerr to put up 20 a game. Put up 20 shots. Steve, I don't need you shooting 20 for the Bulls, okay? I need MJ putting up 25, and I need Pippen putting up 20. I don't need you putting up 20, okay? Something's wrong if Steve Kerr or John Paxson, shout out John Paxson, if he's putting up 20 shots a game.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have Justin Watson put up 20 shots a game. Can he put up 10 shots a game? You bet. Look at the game against the Raiders. 34 passing attempts. Rashee Rice got 10 targets. 10 targets. He played in 40 snaps. That means when he's playing, he's getting the ball almost on a 4-to-1 ratio. Every 4 snaps he was in there, he was targeted 1 time. I like that. He can do stuff with it. Travis Kelce got targeted on 7 plays. Okay? He had 7 targets. That means of the 34 pass attempts, half of them were going to Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. That, my friends, is what needs to occur. Those 2 guys need to be half the targets. Somehow, some way, find them, if it's an option route, if it's a crossing route, if it's a curl route. I don't care, but they need to be getting half the targets because those are the guys who are, 1, going to make something happen in Rice, and 2, Kelce's going to catch the football. I trust one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
They're pretty good in yak situations himself, historically. Yeah.
So I see that, and I'm like, awesome. That is really, really good. Then you look at something that kind of surprised me a little bit. Now, maybe it was because Jerick McKinnon was not playing, but Isaiah Pacheco got 5 targets. That means 22 of the 34 passing attempts went to, right now, the 3 best players for the Kansas City Chiefs on offense. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Pacheco. That is a perfectly distributed offensive passing game in my view. Pacheco, now granted, the very first play of the game, not ideal, 6-yard loss. Like to kind of avoid that. Personally, I think if your first play of the game is a screen pass, Andy Reid, what the hell are you doing? Either throw it to Kelce or just give it to your battering ram running back on the first play of the game. It's okay.
Now, I did come on last Tuesday and wonder where has the vaunted Andy Reid screen game gone?
Not on play 1, Andy. Come on.
That was a little rich even for me. Yeah.
Come on. So there is a perfect distribution. And then you look at what else they did, okay? Justin Watson got 3 targets, okay? Then Sky Moore got 3 targets, and the only reason Sky Moore got 3 targets was simply for the fact that, you know what? Nobody guarded him, okay? The one, they ran an RPO, and they tried to get it to Rice on a slant, and there was Sky Moore just standing there, and they're like, no, I guess I got to throw it to you. And he actually broke a tackle. Like, hey, wow. He made a play. But that is, to me, how you need to do things. If Watson gets a few more targets, I'm fine with that. But the sheer distribution is not a surprise or a coincidence that the best offensive output for the Chiefs was this game. Take away, and the Raiders, I don't want to just say the Raiders, are trash, right?
They've played much better.
Played much better since, idiots.
Ash Canning McDaniels, yeah.
Just getting him out of there. They've played a lot better under Antonio Pierce. I think the combination of getting the ball to Isaiah Pacheco multiple times, throwing the ball to Rice with yards after the catch capabilities, throwing the ball to Travis Kelce. It's almost to the point where, like, wow, getting your best players the ball in space is the best way to get this offense going. But that is what they need to do. And for the first time this year, Rashee Rice led the Chiefs in snaps as a wide receiver. They went like this. Kelce, because we're talking pass catchers, right?
Right.
Kelce 46, Rice 40, Watson 34, Sky Moore 34, MVS 32, and then Richie James that ended up with 9. Now, maybe part of the reason that they had to do this was just straight out of necessity. You didn't have McCole Hardman, who had surgery. He tweeted out, just had surgery. I have no clue how long he's going to be out.
Sounds like he's going to be back before the end of the regular season. That is his expressed hope, again, via his social media channels.
And you've got Kadarius Toney, who we have no idea what's going to happen with Kadarius Toney. Another groin injury this time. I have no idea. But maybe this is a benefit of it, that you at least, for the first time this year, the two guys that I want to have the most snaps played the most snaps. And that's Rashee Rice and that's Justin Watson. And then you look at it, Noah Gray ended up with 30 snaps. And maybe part of that reason is because they went a little bit more double tight when it comes to that. But this shouldn't be something that you go, wow, this worked out really well. Maybe do that again. I doubt Toney plays in the game against the Packers. McKinnon, as far as I'm concerned, Jerick McKinnon, just be healthy come week 18.
Particularly because outside of his second and goal carry at the 1, the Chiefs have gotten some actual utility out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in his snaps.
That was the best
recently.
he's looked since his rookie year against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? The very first game of his career, he had a great game against Houston.
Yes.
And then he had a great game against Buffalo.
Yeah, primetime. That was Sunday night or Monday night.
And then ever since then, he's been bad.
He had the injury after that. And
he looked like he had some juice.
The fumble against Baltimore that was really costly. And then,
So I just put Jerick McKinnon in bubble wrap until the end of the season and then have him ready to go. But that was the best offense this has looked, and it shouldn't be a surprise that they targeted their 3 best guys. No questions asked that they did, and I'm hoping that this continues, even if McCole Hardman comes back and Sky or and Kadarius Toney. Honestly, if Kadarius Toney comes back, just put Kadarius Toney in for Sky Moore. Like, do Rice, Watson, Kadarius Toney, and then whatever's left over for old ham hands, MVS. That's fine too. But there's your breakdown. Like, get the ball to Pacheco running it 15 to 20 times a game. And you just hope eventually, and maybe 20 times might be too many, because I truly believe this. I think Andy Reid sees the big picture. Andy Reid knows, hey, we just need to get to the end. And once we get to the end, then we can, I think Andy Reid does it more so maybe than any other coach that knows the regular season is a means to an end. It really, really is. And that's why, we talked about, hey, Pacheco needed to carry the ball more against the Eagles because he was eating, man. Give him the football. He had almost 5 yards of carry. Same thing again when the Denver game. We were just flummoxed that he had 8 carries. Just give it to him 15 times a game, 20 touches. Instead of Jamal Charles, it was not carries, it was touches.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing for Pacheco because he's improved so much in the receiving game. Finally, Chiefs fans got what they wanted, and hopefully the whole Rice learning and getting experience, and for some reason they didn't want to trust Justin Watson, despite Patrick Mahomes would apparently trust that guy to watch his kids than anybody else. And Sky Moore and MVS, it's like, well, the Bulls did have, Bill Cartwright and, whoever, that you got to have somebody there. Well, and you just hope that when the time comes, they actually come through for you. And unfortunately, the one time that they needed MVS to come through, he didn't.
Well, it's not obviously a perfect apples to apples comparison talking about football and basketball. But when we talk about particularly NBA basketball, but this applies to college basketball too, like you need depth to get you through a regular season. Depth is really important over the course of the regular season because whether it's 30 games in college basketball, 82 in the NBA, or even 16 or 17 now, obviously, in the NFL, the regular season is a grind. It's a grind, and you deal with injuries, and you deal with different kinds of opponents and schemes and weather and all these, and it's a grind. And so you need depth to survive. Like if you're a basketball team, there are nights in the regular season where KU's going to need Nick Timberlake to hit some threes. In past years, like they have had, like what was his Clements was the Tanner Groves stopper when they played Oklahoma, right? Like you put him on Groves and lock him up and render him ineffective, and he's the right horse for that course.
Yep.
Your depth becomes really important, but then when you get to the postseason and the marathon is over, it's a full sprint to the finish, and you leave those 82 game guys in the NBA or those 30 game guys in college basketball, and you say, these are my 7 or 8, and we're riding this thing till the wheels fall off because the circumstances are different and because we're chasing a championship. And this player might have helped us in the dog days, but they're not going to be a big part of what we're trying to do come the time to win a championship. Football, again, not an apples to apples comparison, but I think there's some similarity when it comes to the receiver core, when it comes to the group of guys who are going to be targeted for passes. I think the Chiefs have spent the first 10, 11 games of this season kind of trying to figure out who those guys are going to be. And maybe by accident, they figured out what the best possible mix looks like for them. Now,
his addition by subtraction, when I mean subtraction, is 2 guys couldn't play.
And given the opportunity for more snaps and more targets, Rashee Rice proved that he can be more than just throw him a 3-yard quick out and let him, go one-on-one and beat a corner in space and get the yards after the catch. He also showed, hey, I can take a crosser, shallow crosser. I can beat my man. I can win leverage, and I can turn this into a big play. I can go up and get a sideline fade and go up over the top of a defensive back and make that catch, get my feet down inbounds.
That was nice.
He showed the total package as a wide receiver to the point where now he's, in the trust tree or the circle of trust, however you want to put it.
In the nest.
But he is 100% going to be a guy who, come playoff time, he's going to be out there 70, 80% of the snaps. There's no doubt about that moving forward.
We got a lot more to get to. By the way, from the text line on what age is old. It is age 50. That's when you stop caring about advancing in technology and don't care about Facebook, TikTok, Insta garbage, or Snapcraft.
I have to say this to our texter from the 316. I think that's a fair point. I think it's a fair argument put forward.
Here's the thing.
Older people love Facebook.
Love it.
My grandfather.
Boomers love the book.
My grandfather is 86 years old.
And he on the book?
Yes. Constantly sending me links, reels, videos, just, nothing specific. Just, thought you might find this interesting. And it's like an old video of Hank Aaron taking batting practice. And you know what, Grandpa? I do find those videos interesting. Grandpa might be listening. So I want to be clear. I do find those videos to be very interesting.
Shout out Papa Lucero.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Facebook might be the exception. Yeah, I don't know. Like, my dad doesn't have a TikTok. I can tell you that right
I
now.
don't have TikTok.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't have a TikTok. So
Yeah.
when it comes to that, maybe I'm already an old.
You know, like I like Instagram and Snapchat because that way I can send videos and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see videos of like my friends and their kids. Because like I don't communicate with a bunch of my college buddies, on a daily basis. But if I'm on Instagram or if I'm on Snapchat or something like that, and I see them, posting a photo of them, like you can see kids more often and all of that kind of stuff.
No,
and it's just pictures.
And this is a funny thing.
It's not Facebook, because Facebook, you got all of the links and all that kind of stuff, and people, some shocker, some of the stuff I believe in, my buddies don't. But with Instagram, it's just photos of them doing it. It's just like, oh, that's really cool. Hit the like button, say, hey guys, don't need to talk to you, but I'm here and I see you. That's why I like Insta garbage, according to our texter.
I have a question about Justin Watson before we go to break.
Yeah.
Is he your there but for the grace of God guy in the NFL these days? Because everybody, this is my theory, that everybody who played at least at the varsity level of a high school sport believes, watching like the NFL on Sundays or Major League Baseball or whatever, believes there's one guy in the league at any given time that you watch and say, that could have been me. Built a little similarly. I got a little bit of similar, skill set. Do you have a there but for the grace of God guy in the NFL? Because, you played at a higher level than I did.
Here's the thing about Justin Watson.
You're taller than he
is he was awesome at Penn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I say he was awesome, like, he's their best. He might be one of their best players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had close to 4,000 receiving yards in his career.
Yeah.
33 touchdowns. Like, that it's Penn. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a dude.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, again, I got.
Okay, great example. And I never understood it. And I never understood how Antonio Gates, the last year of his career, ever caught a pass. That dude was so slow. Speaking of Antonio Gates, he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Antonio Gates was awesome, okay? Antonio Gates was so good. He should make it, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, he should be a second ballot Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. But that man was 36 years old and still catching 7 touchdowns. Like, he was so good, yet I had no idea how he got open. Kind of like that.
At some point, your football IQ takes over.
Yeah. He was really good. I don't know if he'll get in. He was 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. He caught 116 touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like myself, as a former soft-tossing left-handed pitcher who had a entirely brief college career, to watch, like, Brent Suter, former Brewer, former Rocky, throw like 84 miles an hour from the left side and think, if they'd have caught me throwing 84 on the right day, that could have been me.
I'm trying to think of who that guy would be.
Big white wide receivers. Ed McCaffrey. Because he was not fleet of foot.
Yeah.
Justin Watson could fly. Like,
he could run.
Yeah, he could run. He's got some real speed.
He really, really could. We'll get a quick timeout. Coming up next, we're going to find out if Dan is really an NFL fan here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Dan, I'm going to find out if you really are an NFL guy. Did you watch the Monday Night Football game last night?
No.
You're not a real NFL guy.
Fine.
Dan, I did not watch a lot of it, but like in between putting my kids to bed and doing this, and it was kind of, I put it on there while I was doing some other things.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the worst football game I've ever seen.
So you want to know what we did? Probably like many American families, all day Thursday, we watched football.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we did on Friday?
Watch football.
We watched football. You want to know what I did all day Saturday?
You drove.
No, Sunday I drove.
Sunday.
Saturday I watched football.
Yep.
And on Sunday I drove.
Okay.
And then you know what we did when we got home? We watched football because the Chiefs were on.
Yep.
So last night I wasn't going to subject my wife to Justin Fields and Josh Dobbs having a mid-off at quarterback. We watched.
No, that wasn't even that, dude.
We started season 3 of Suits.
You can't calling those two quarterbacks mid. That's a disservice to the slang term mid. I'm sorry, but if
dirt Reggie, I believe is the term. Not that I would know.
If either of those teams think that this is the guy at quarterback, and I'm talking about the Chicago Bears, if you truly think that Justin Fields is the guy at quarterback, everyone needs to be fired. Everyone in that organization. He threw one pass down the middle of the field the entire game, and it was the most important play of the game.
He ripped that throw into DJ Moore. I don't know. Maybe see if he can do that more often instead of just having him throw to a receiver 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage with 5 guys running at him the entire game, which I'm told was the game plan. It
was incredible at just the bad play that was. And the Bears will screw it up because the Bears are going to get the first pick of the NFL draft because the Carolina Panthers are an absolute mess.
Yeah, they're in hell.
Okay. If they don't take Caleb Williams, then there's no hope. I heard someone say, well, they need to trade that pick for more capital and build around Justin Fields. I said, if you're that person, then I don't want you in my front office. That was awful. Josh Dobbs, the shine is off of Josh Dobbs. Great story. Pretty cool. He ain't the guy either. If you're the Vikings and you're Kevin O'Connell and whoever the Vikings GM is, no.
Which throw was it? Was it any of the 4 interceptions, or was it the one where he had Jordan Addison wide open for a touchdown down the sideline and threw it into the second row?
That was the Bears won a football game without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
And they got double-figure points. That kind of felt like a little bit, except it was a lot better played game. That was the no touchdown game when the Steelers beat the Chiefs. Was it 18-14 in the playoffs?
In the playoffs.
Yeah, when Eric Fisher got the hold.
Yeah. Like Travis Kelce say he wouldn't hire those refs to manage a Foot Locker.
Yeah.
That was a younger Travis Kelce.
Yeah. A fun fact, I was right next to him when he made that quote. He had the little like biker jacket that had kind of like the spikes on it.
Had like the really high top fade going.
Yeah, and he was like, I wouldn't even hire them to run my Foot Locker. And then he like shoved a bunch of us out of his way just to get out. And we were like, go ahead, bro. we ain't about ready to get on that train track when the train was coming.
Again,
through.
That was a younger Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
In many ways.
How about that? Yeah. So yeah, that game, oh my gosh.
Truly gross, truly grotesque.
But
I guess payback. ESPN got a banger of a Super Bowl rematch the Monday night previous, and this is the penance you must pay.
Terrible. Coming up next, we are going to get to some college transfer portal news. K-State's got some an interesting month ahead. They're in the portal right now. We'll discuss that coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk. Jake Levon and Dan Lucero with you here on this Tuesday. We're going to talk with Jesse Newell, the Kansas City Star, coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. A little random question Tuesday. Overreaction, proper reaction coming up as well in the 3 o'clock hour. But yesterday, during the show, we got the official news that Will Howard is heading to the transfer portal. Well, that was the biggest news of the day, that Will Howard going to be playing for somebody else. But we didn't talk about kind of what else happened to Kansas State. One, Jake Rubley, we mentioned it briefly. He's in the portal. But also, 3 quarterbacks are ending up transferring from Kansas State.
Adrian Lara
How
is
about
also
that?
in the
He's
portal.
transferring, and that leaves K-State. We're talking K-State.
Oh, God.
With 1 quarterback. They have a single quarterback right now on their roster. That is
An eligible quarterback.
Avery Johnson. Yeah, I care. I only care about the guys who can play in the bowl game right now.
Yeah, so diehard K-State fans may be aware of Jacob, I believe it's Newth. I think it's a silent K, transferred in from Minnesota. Well, apparently, he was a scholarship player at Minnesota and decided to walk on at Kansas State. And because of that, his circumstances, the NCAA rules are such that he must sit out the entire season.
This is so dumb.
So Kansas State could maybe apply for a waiver for the bowl game. You know, the NCAA works. They got no real power anymore. So whatever little power they do have, they love to flex. So I'm sure that that they would not allow Newth to play.
This is so stupid. Okay, ready? Let's just talk this real quick here. Okay. Everybody who wants to transfer can transfer right away and play.
Yes,
if you
one
get a,
time.
If you get a scholarship. Okay, cool. All righty. Here we go. Let's make the guy paying his own way out of his own pocket, whether that be via student loans or grants or mom or whatever. Yeah, that guy, he can't play right away. Screw that kid. He's paying his own way. What a loser. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that, oh, yeah, he was on scholarship. K-State didn't offer him a scholarship, so he's walking on. He's doing what everybody is like told to do, right? Work hard, be good, do whatever your coach says, and you'll get rewarded for it. Yeah, you can't play. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely none. If you transfer right now. You should be able to play whether or not you're on scholarship or off scholarship. This is the stupidest thing ever, which is why the NCAA continues just to suck.
No argument here.
God, that makes no sense. Yeah, he's a walk-on. He can't play. Why not? Well, we said so. Explain your rationale.
So
I don't know.
Where this leaves Kansas State is
Sorry
obviously
about that,
1 quarterback for the bowl game. I don't know who else would take snaps. You'd have to maybe put the Wildcat in. I got no idea how that
Cody
could go.
Cook come back? Do you get any eligibility?
I don't believe so. Moving forward, though, Kansas State is going to be fine at quarterback because obviously you'll have Avery Johnson next year as the starter. Newth will be eligible. And like if you are a scholarship player at one place and then you transfer to be a walk-on at another place, I feel like you kind of know what time it is. Like you know your role in your program and probably going to be fine holding the clipboard next year, so to speak, for Avery Johnson. And then they've got a true freshman coming in from Colorado, a kid out of Erie, Colorado, who I think it's Erie, who I think he set the state's touchdown record this past season, Blake Barnett.
Mm-hmm.
So they got him coming in. That gives them 3. They'll probably take a PWO. If I had to guess, there might be an in-state quarterback that they give a PWO offer to, or maybe a grad transfer, 5th-year guy just to be, just to bring in and have on hand as an experienced backup. That's certainly a possibility as well. So I don't think that Kansas State is in any position where they've got to panic about the quarterback spot. Obviously, QB1 is very much accounted for. And I would guess they would hit the portal to find an experienced backup. And then they've got a freshman and a program guy still with the program. They're fine. It's not a huge concern. It's just a weird situation for the bowl.
They got to get, though, a backup. They need to find somebody who can come in and play in case Avery gets hurt.
No, I agree with that.
They got to do that.
They he's got too much eligibility, but like Athan Kalikmanis from Minnesota just hit the portal. Like, I don't think he's a Power 5 starting quarterback. But if you want to play Power 5 football, like if somebody that caliber was out there in the transfer portal and with a year of eligibility, with a grad year left, Kansas State they'll kick the tires.
And you got to have a backup quarterback the way that K-State is going to play Avery Johnson.
Right. You do.
Like, you have to. If the guy was a drop back passer, then you'd say you're fine. But I mean, look at the Big 12. Can you even, was there a single quarterback who went the entire year from game 1 to game 12 who played in every single game as a Big 12 quarterback? I mean,
Howard.
Well, he got dinged up and Avery had to play, but
you mean like every snap?
Yeah,
like only coming out for like a blowout.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's certainly been a while.
Even in the game against BYU, Oklahoma's quarterback, Brendan hates him.
Oh, the lefty Gabriel.
Yeah, he got like, you got to have a guy back there that can step in. I mean, look at Texas. Look at K-State. Look at KU. I mean, there's just Iowa State. I mean, their starting quarterback. Now, granted, that was a different situation, but
like, if you're looking for an experienced backup, none of the guys that are leaving fit that bill either. Jake Rubley barely played. Adrian Lara, if he played, I missed it. I feel bad for Rubley, just as an aside. This was like a big-time prospect, and the COVID year was his senior year.
Yep.
And he moved. He's a Colorado kid.
Yeah, because he moved to Iowa so he could play.
He moved to Iowa just to be able to play, and then he didn't get eligible. And then he's lost a year of development in there, and that's really an unfortunate deal. Like, you can't get that development back, unfortunately. So I think he's still pretty promising, but he needs to go somewhere where he might have a more realistic chance to play. And I don't know if that's going to be a Power 5 program, but I kind of feel bad for how that all went down, because when he was brought aboard, I think at the time he was the highest rated quarterback prospect K-State had ever recruited. I think now it's Avery. Obviously.
Yeah, I wonder if it was Freeman though, because Freeman was pretty high up there.
Rubley, I think was a legit 4-star.
Was Freeman only 3?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But
I'm not going to pretend I remember.
This is what's funny about this is at the quarterback spot, K-State, they need to find their version of Jason Bean. They need to find somebody who's willing to be a backup right now. Rubley didn't want to do it. Will Howard didn't want to do it. Kind of a different situation. Adrian Lara didn't want to do it. They need to find somebody, and that is something going on with the transfer portal. Same situation. Treshaun Ward is transferring. That surprised me, but that is the situation where he used his one transfer to go from Florida State to Kansas State, right? Now he's graduated, so he gets to graduate, and I firmly believe if you graduate, you get to do whatever you want, right? Student athlete was shoved down my throat for 4.5 years. I did what I was supposed to do as a student. Let me go do whatever I need to do. And this is where we are at, where I think he just wants to be the lead dog. He didn't want to sit behind, Giddens. He wants to be the guy. And he thought coming in, Deuce Vaughn is going to be gone.
So I'm going to be the guy.
I'm going to be the guy. And then Giddens ended up having, and that stinks because Giddens and Ward were a great 1-2 punch.
They were.
He wants to be the guy. And so he's going to transfer. And this is why during this era, to me, it's easier to go from 3-9 to 7-5, much, much easier, because if you are Treshaun Ward, and who's a good running back, he can go somewhere, start right away, and you got a Power 5 level running back that can come into your program right away. So that's kind of a big loss, I think, for Kansas State, because they're going to find another running back. Is this is this an alarming situation to have this? Like Will Howard, different situation.
Mm-hmm.
So exclude him because we try to do things with a little bit of nuance here. But a guy like Ward, a guy like Rubley, a guy like Lara, is this something that's Kansas State specific on why all of them are leaving? Or this is just the way it is now, and not many people want to be Jason Bean because Avery's the guy, and Rubley and Lara like, look, I don't want to be a backup. I want to go play at New Mexico, or I'll go play at UNLV, or I'll go play at some other place, or drop down to FCS, and I just want to play, which I have no problem with. Just know that the grass ain't always greener.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a K-State issue, or is it that's just the way it is now?
I don't think there's anything that has happened to Kansas State to this point in the transfer portal that I would classify as being alarming, or like, obviously you would have liked to have kept Trayshawn Ward, but Ward is not leaving because the Kansas State program's in a bad place. He's leaving because he couldn't beat out DJ Giddens. That's a good problem to have, that the guy that you recruited with no fanfare, you have developed into a viable starting running back and an all-conference caliber running back in the Big 12 Conference. That's a win. Trayshawn Ward, I'm sure, was sold on a situation at Kansas State where, hey, you're going to come in and you're going to compete. You got a real good chance to be running back number one. And maybe the coaching staff was even a little surprised how good DJ Giddens got.
I can tell you, I was one of them.
He's continued to surprise me at just about every turn. But Trayshawn Ward wants to spend the last year of his college football eligibility being the man somewhere so he can maybe get drafted. And you got a better chance of getting drafted if you're the man at like Akron, or we're just throwing
Western Michigan
schools out there. Like you hear the UTSA. If you're the man somewhere, you got a better chance of being drafted than if you're the number 2 back, even at a Power 5 school. So that I'm not surprised that happened. Now, like at quarterback, Kansas State's going to have to hit the portal at running back because they don't really have a lot of experience behind him. They've got a lot of like PWOs, preferred walk-on types behind Giddens. And maybe there's another Giddens in that group. But I would not be surprised if Kansas State, who has been proficient in the portal, like we're talking about their losses right now because that's all anybody's experiencing, right? Nobody's committing anywhere yet. It's all who've you lost. Well, when you look at the last few years of who Kansas State has brought in to help them in the portal, Julius Prince, Stubblefield, Ward obviously was a big help for them this year. Keegan Johnson has been a nice help for them.
Adrian Martinez, you're going to go back to the tight end from Northern Iowa.
Briley Moore.
They've had some success.
Imatter Bebe, the other big tight end they brought in. Like, they have brought in guys who fit exactly what they need. They have been purposeful, and they have been successful in essentially shopping in the transfer portal. I have no doubt they will be again.
I got to make sure we get this in here today because this is awesome. Finalists for the Outland Trophy Award, which goes to the nation's top offensive or defensive interior lineman. Finalists: Joe Alt, Notre Dame, former Chief. Was it John Alt? I don't remember, but Joe Alt, left tackle for Notre Dame. T'Vondre Sweat, defensive tackle for Texas. And Cooper Beebe from Kansas State and Piper High School. That's awesome.
Did you know K-State hadn't had a postseason award finalist since Colin Klein?
They've never had an offensive lineman.
And they've never had one
for
the Outland Trophy. Yeah. They've never had a finalist for the Outland Trophy.
And here's the thing, like this, most of the time, like, like Malik Neighbors is going to win the Biletnikoff Award. He should. If Marvin Harrison Jr. gets it, that's ridiculous. Neighbors is awesome. He should get it. I don't know if you believe Marvin Harrison, but
I think it should be Harrison.
Neighbors statistically has it. Harrison has the name. Kind of depends on how you view it. But all three of these guys, I could say, like, yeah, Joe Alt got it. I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, Cooper Beebe gets it. Like, yeah, I understand it. T'Vondre Sweat gets it. Yeah, okay, I get it. Like, this one is, like, not a
toss-up.
But that's awesome. That really, really is. Coming up, we got a little overreaction, proper action here on 580 Sports Talk. hour two, 580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Tuesday. Thank you so much to everyone who's want to stop by and listen. We appreciate that as always. Jake Vaughn, Dan Lucero with you. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line. Also, you can check out our YouTube page and our YouTube stream. Very easy to get involved with. Go to youtube.com. Type in 580 Sports Talk.
Subscribe. We've got 382 subscribers now.
Come on, join the fun.
18 away.
Come on, join the fun.
400.
From the stream, Caleb Williams is a bust. That is according to Bradley.
I can't say that's a take I agree with. I think
he's gonna be good.
I think he's gonna be a really good NFL player. I think USC just had horrendous vibes this year, but I don't think that had a lot to do with Caleb Williams. I think they had everything to do with they didn't tackle or defend anybody.
I also think it's a head coach issue.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Lincoln Riley's crazy soft. You want to know the opposite of Lincoln Riley?
Who's that?
Bill Self. I'm serious, because Lincoln Riley, would limit the media, wouldn't hold his players accountable. Caleb Williams didn't want to speak to the media one game. If I was the head coach, I'd be like, no, you're talking to the media. You want to talk when it's good? You want to talk when you're slinging touchdowns? No, you're going to talk when it's bad too. Bill Self would do the same, would do the opposite. No, you got to face this, man. But that's Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is when the going is good, it is good. And at the middle of this year, and it's never had a good defense. Lincoln Riley will never win a national championship.
No, because he's trying to get to the NFL as fast as he can.
Do you think he's gone?
I think the first NFL job that's offered to him, he will take. I think he wants to be in the NFL. I'm not sure he's entirely picky about the where of it. I just think he wants to be in the NFL.
Head coach or OC?
Head coach.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. I don't think he can be a head coach at the NFL level.
No, it feels to me like optimistically a slightly better version of Cliff Kingsbury's head coaching arc, where maybe there's enough offensive know-how and you can make it shake and maybe make the playoffs once or twice, but there's the shelf life there, because I don't think that he's made a particularly stern stuff. I guess is what you're saying too.
Yeah, I was a big Lincoln Riley fan, but it just kept on going. Oh, you're
kicking reporters out of the locker room. It's a level of soft. Yes.
What? You just college athletics. You never know. According to Trey Biddy, who covers the Arkansas Razorbacks for hogsports.com. Can't make this up, folks. Trey Biddy says, I have very good reason to believe Bobby Petrino will be the new Arkansas offensive coordinator. Nothing signed yet, I'm told, but the deal is in the works.
Yeah, Pete Thamel tweeted it.
What?
Pete Thamel tweeted an hour ago.
What?
That Arkansas is vetting hiring former head coach Bobby Petrino as the school's next offensive coordinator.
Folks, this is let's throw it out there and see how the reaction is to this news.
Vetting Bobby Petrino at the University of Arkansas. Let's just imagine how that might go.
Statement.
Let's imagine how that might go. Well, we've done some digging and we found some troubling incidents involving Bobby Petrino. Well, there was a time he was an NFL head coach, and before his first season even ended, he quit his job and he left letters in the locker room for all his players to read. That was 1 page long, 1 paragraph long. And then he just left before the season even ended to go coach in college. Oh man, that's crazy. Who was the school that hired him? That was us. That we did that here. That happened here. And we have another incident involving Bobby Petrino. He was in a motorcycle accident and he lied about every part of the motorcycle accident because it turned out he was having an affair with a staffer in his football office and didn't want anybody to find out about it. And then the school that hired him had to fire him. Oh man, that's terrible. What school did that happen at? Here. That also. How does that happen? That happened here. Yeah.
I got.
All right. Vetting complete. Vetting Bobby Petrino at Arkansas is such a funny image. That being said, like this isn't, I guarantee you this isn't a Sam Pittman thing. This is a booster who wants Bobby Petrino back and is willing to pay a lot of money to make that happen. I would bet anything that that's what we're dealing with here. This is not Sam Pittman thinking, yeah, you know, it will make me popular again with Arkansas fans, because most Arkansas fans are mad Sam Pittman's hanging around for another year because Arkansas went in the toilet this year. They made a bad OC hire. They hired Dan Enos, who was really bad at his job and made KJ Jefferson stink, which was a huge bummer. Sam Pittman thinking, this is what's going to make me popular. I'm going to hire Bobby Petrino back at Arkansas. No, there's no chance. There's no chance this is a Sam Pittman idea. This is a booster. 100%. This is a booster or a couple of boosters who still miss the old winning ways of old Bobby, and they want to bring him back.
Yes. Only college football. Only college football. All right, Dan, it's time for a little overreaction, proper reaction here. And I'm going to double check this just to make sure that it hasn't changed. But overreaction, proper reaction. Oregon being a 9.5 point favorite over Washington is nuts.
I think, I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this. I think you are overreacting. I think the way that Oregon has played down the stretch and the way that Washington has played down the stretch. All
Washington has to do is get within 9 points. Or other way to look at it, if you think Oregon is going to win, they got to win by double figures
to cover the spread.
Yeah.
Yes. So Oregon wins the first meeting if they don't mess around on fourth down, right? Like if they had converted their fourth downs, if they had taken some points when they were available, right?
They didn't.
But those were the decisions that decided the game. All of the big picture stuff, like yards and yards per play and success rate and what have you, pretty heavily favored Oklahoma in that game. Down the stretch, if you have watched Washington play and you've watched Oregon play, I don't know how you would come to a different conclusion than, Oregon is a lot better right now than Washington is. Washington kind of seems like they might have peaked with that win over Oregon. Yep. They've had trouble scoring effectively. There's been lots of rumors that Michael Penix Jr. is nursing an injury of some kind, and an offense that looked like they could score at will in the first half of the season. What did they score against Arizona State? Like 14?
It wasn't good.
They scored 22 against Oregon State. They scored 24 against Washington State. Oregon is wiping teams out. They beat the hell out of Oregon State. And Oregon State, I mean, that was, it's rivalry week. It's the last Civil War for who knows how long. A lot of motivation for Oregon State. They came in fired up to play, and Oregon beat the tar out of them. It didn't matter. Oregon was better at the line of scrimmage. Oregon was better offensively. I do think Oregon's going to wreck Washington in the Big Pac-12 championship game. I do. I think Oregon right now, they are one of the 4 best teams in the country. Like,
okay,
on current form.
All righty. I got another real quick college one. Right now, Ohio State is 6th in the college football rankings. Mm-hmm. Okay, it goes Georgia 1, Michigan 2.
Now the new ones come out tonight.
They come out tonight. We'll have to wait and see. No, this is
or are you looking at the AP?
Oh, I was looking at the AP. I'm looked at the wrong one there. Overreaction, proper reaction. Ohio State will be ranked ahead of Texas still in the college football playoff.
That to me is, I think that's an overreaction. And the reason I will say that is because I think that Texas, as it currently stands, if the college football playoff rankings are meant to establish a pecking order at this point in the season as to like who's in line to make the playoffs, Texas is ahead of Ohio State in line right now. So I think Texas will be ranked ahead of Ohio State.
I don't think they should be.
If the two teams played on a neutral field, who do you think would win? Make the line. if they play on a neutral field this Saturday. Texas, Ohio State.
So in this situation, that is I am okay with your vernacular there. Because if you would have said right now, who wins on a neutral field, Alabama and Texas, I think Alabama would win.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, Alabama would go. But Texas already beat Alabama.
Yes.
That matters.
Yes, the games that actually happened have to matter. Yes.
I think Ohio State would be favored.
I'd make it. Wonder what.
Is there a way you can like find there's got to be somebody out there who can say, yeah, if these two teams played, what would the theoretical spread be?
Now there's Sagarin ratings page. Sagarin's got Ohio State number 2 in the country and Texas 7. So
yeah, they'd have Ohio State a big.
You'd have Ohio State. You'd have Ohio State favored there.
Because to me, Texas, if they beat Oklahoma State, that is not going to move the needle. It's not going to move the needle. That's why it's like and almost what would be better to move the needle if Oklahoma State lost and Texas had to play Oklahoma again, and then they could avenge their only loss. But instead, they're going to probably beat Oklahoma State, and that's not going to move the needle. Whereas like Oregon beating undefeated Washington will move the needle.
No, I
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it
ain't going to move the needle. So to me, if Ohio State is ranked ahead of Texas right now, then Texas ain't going to get in over Ohio State.
But I still think if it came down to that and there was one spot to fill in the college football playoff, a 12-1 conference champion Texas would get the nod over an 11-1 Ohio State team that didn't get a chance to play for their conference championship. Like Ohio State, you had one big game to win that would have locked you into the playoff and you didn't win it. Like that's the argument. Where Texas will have played that game and in this scenario would have won it.
Yeah, but they didn't play the best team in the country. That's the problem. Like, that's the bummer. You're making me defend Ohio State, Dan. Damn you. But, like, that's the thing to me about, like, if we're going with the top 4 teams, is Ohio State lost to, I think, the best team in the country. I think it is Michigan, is the best team in the country. That means you beat everybody else, but the one team you lost to was the best team in the country.
And they have 2 really good wins.
Yeah.
Like Penn State's a good win. Notre Dame's a good win. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
All right. Here's a college football one for you. And we're looking maybe a little far ahead. Is this overreaction or proper reaction? The favorite to win the 2024 Heisman Trophy is Jalen Milroe from Alabama.
2024?
Yes. I'm asking about next year, going into next year.
Oh, man. Is Jaden Daniels going to leave?
Yes. I would think.
He would be the guy then. He would be the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Daniels is 22. I would think that if he could leave for the draft, this would be, he's a senior. This would be the time.
Because everybody else, are they going to be gone?
I mean, I guess if you want to throw Ewers out there as a possibility, because he's got another year at Texas. Yeah. I just think Milroe's the most improved player in the country from what he was in that Texas game to what he is now. I think he's the most improved player in the country. I think he'd be the favorite in 2024. Him or Beck from Georgia, I suppose. He's pretty good too. He'd be one of those 2 SEC quarterbacks to be the favorite for next year. Who wins it this year?
I think Jaden Daniels is going to win it.
You think he is going to win?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know, man. I think I think the voters are going to go ahead and give it to
Bo. To me, it's either Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels.
Well, I think if Penix has a big game for Washington in the Pac-12 championship game and Washington wins, he could steal it.
Okay.
But I think Oregon's going to win, and I think that's going to be
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is closing.
Auburn is just in shambles.
Yeah, who knew? Bo Nix, Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah. Alrighty. Overreaction, proper reaction. Rashee Rice will end up with 1,000 yards receiving this year.
Where's he at right now?
527 with 6 games to go.
Yeah, it's an overreaction. I don't think he's gonna pile up like 473 yards in 6 games. If he had a couple more 100-yard games in him. Yeah.
It's not as like, because at first blush you're like, there's no way that ain't, all he needs is 470 yards.
473 in the last 6 games. Yeah.
That's 78 yards a game. Maybe he goes for another hundo, and then he only goes for 40 the next. Like, to me,
he's a rookie receiver, though. That's the thing about it.
Yeah,
I as much as I do think we had the Rice breakout on Sunday and feel like he's pretty clearly established himself as the Chiefs' best wide receiver, 78 yards a game, I don't know. That's a lot. I think you're overreacting, but not by a lot. That's an interesting question, though. You think he's gonna get there?
I don't, because I think I don't, due to the simple fact that the Chiefs' offense is too up and down. But I mean, could I see him getting another 90-yard game and another 80-yard game? I think the minimum he should get every single game is at least 40. I mean, they need to throw him the ball 10 times, and I feel like you should get at least 40 yards if you throw it to a guy 10 times. And you throw him 7 times. We'll call it 7. Minimum 7 for targets a game. If you throw the ball 7 times to somebody, I feel like you should get at least 40 yards. And if you get 40 yards and you get 80 yards, average is 60, that's kind of right around it. So what if I said 900 yards?
I think that's achievable.
I think that's the proper reaction.
I think I think he will have at least another 100-yard game. How about that? I think he's got another 100-yard game in his future.
All right, I'm with you.
One more from me, an NFL one. Overreaction, proper reaction. The Denver Broncos are going to the playoffs.
First blush is overreaction because I think their schedule is pretty difficult the rest
of the way. It is not. Well, they have their next 3 on the road, which is not a picnic. But those games are against Houston, the Chargers, and the Lions. Then they've got the Patriots and the Chargers at home, and they finish in Vegas.
They got to get to 10. So can they win 4 of their next, what do they got? Everybody's got 6.
4 of their next 6?
Can they win 4 of their next 6?
They're going to beat the Patriots.
Yep.
Who are a tire fire.
Yep.
That means they need to split with the Chargers, at least split, and then get 2 of 3 at Houston, at Detroit, at Las Vegas. 2 out of 3 on the road.
No, I don't think they will. I'm going to say overreaction. They got to get to 10.
In their they've won 5 straight, and in those games, they have turned the ball over just 3 times after they had committed 3 turnovers in the 2 games prior to that against the Chiefs and the Jets. They have forced, in those 5 games,
87 turnovers.
It only feels that way. 16! They're plus 13 in the turnover margin in 5 weeks. It's absurd.
You ready for this, though?
I'm ready.
This game coming up is a big one because that's a tiebreaker game.
Yes.
Because Texans are going to be in the mix.
If they beat Houston,
they're in a good spot.
They're going to be 7-5. They're going to have a big tiebreaker
over Houston.
And the rest of the schedule, it makes the rest of the schedule look a lot more manageable.
Yeah. If they beat Houston, they will probably make the playoffs. If they lose to Houston, I don't think they will, because then not only do you have to get to 10 wins, so you still have to find a way to get 4 wins out of those teams. And I think you'll split with the Chargers. I don't think you'll beat the Lions. You'll beat the Patriots. So I don't know if you'll get to 10.
Haven't beaten the Raiders in years.
But then
again, I hadn't beaten the Chiefs in years either.
You also not just have to get to 10, but you got to hope that somebody else gets to 10 along with the Texans. Otherwise, this game against Houston, big deal. Yep. Real big deal. Coming up next, we got Random Question Tuesday. question Tuesday before we talk with Jesse Newell on all things Chiefs football. My first question for Jesse is, when he went to Vegas, 1, where did he stay at? 2, what's his favorite game is poker, but did he do any gambling there in Vegas?
Good questions.
Here's my random question. It's kind of a sports question.
Okay.
Take out what is it? It used to be the Link, right? Seattle. What is it now?
Oh, it's Lumen
Field.
Yeah.
Take out Lumen Field. If you could go to any game to watch a game, where would you go?
Are you talking strictly NFL?
Yeah. You can't do Lumen Field because that's your answer.
Yeah, because I've never been.
You've never been, but I'm taking that out. You can't do that. I'll give you a ticket to any game you want to go to, except for Lumen Field.
Probably Lambeau. Just, it's one of the last stadiums in the NFL that, like, there's real history there. Mm-hmm. There's just not many of those anymore. Soldier Field, like, it's the husk of history is there, like the frame, but you get inside and it feels like it just got there. There's obviously there's great history at Arrowhead, but I've been there. What
are the tickets right now for Chiefs Packers tickets? Because that would be it for a lot of people right now.
I think so. Like, yeah, what other stadiums are you going to? Are like, man, I can feel the history here. Like, these other greats played on this very same hallowed ground. Like, no, and maybe over time, there was an era where there were a lot of new stadiums built the last 20 odd years, and maybe like 50 years from now, we'll be looking misty-eyed at like M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, like, where Ray Lewis used to roam, where Ed Reed used to do his thing. But right now, the stadiums that are that in the NFL are basically just Green Bay and Kansas City, right? Like, I can't think of any others.
You can get tickets. Standard room only is $90 at Lambeau, but you can get tickets for like $117. Get in price $117.
Mm-hmm.
Not terrible.
What do you?
There's some you can pay for like $180. What? You can get lower level. Am I in the right game? Yeah. Lower level for like $180.
Well, Packers haven't been great.
That's wild. Don't tell Brendan. Like, I'm not kidding you. Shoot, you can get corner for $129. Row 50. Brendan, if you're listening, you should buy a ticket, to be honest with you. $129. Heck, I might go.
All right, my random question. People are familiar with the concept of a Taco Tuesday, for instance, but do you, as a family presently, or did you, as a family growing up at any time, have a traditional meal night? Did you do like a Taco Tuesday or pizza on a Friday night? Did you have like a traditional thing that you would do as a family, or that you currently do as a family?
We don't currently do every single week. We don't. We did growing up always have like Sunday dinner. We go to church, you come home, and then we'd have some type of like roast at like 1:00.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the closest thing that we would have. But right now we don't, just because of our schedule.
Sure.
Right now it's kind of hard, so we don't. Maybe we will in the future. I don't know. You?
My wife and I, we go out. Her parents live in Meriden, real close, and so we go out with my in-laws to dinner every Tuesday night. A lot of times it's tacos, so we call it Taco Tuesday, but we might end up doing Taco Tuesday at like, sometimes it's at Panda Express. We don't actually order, like, they don't have like a special menu where you can get a taco
every Tuesday night.
But
though,
Tuesday night is
gotcha.
we go out to dinner as a group, and so that's kind of fun. The only other thing I can think of that was like a tradition was when I was a kid, the night of the Final Four games, like the national semifinals, that Saturday night, we would always order pizza.
Oh, cool.
Because you remember Pizza had the basketball
that
you could get
yeah.
the Final Four branded basketball.
That was back when Pizza Hut ruled with like Book It and everything.
Yeah.
When we used to lie about reading books.
I didn't lie. I read all. Yeah,
I
Jacques LeBon over here.
I did. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did.
I read all the books.
I only needed to read growing up when it was like required.
Well, it was required to complete the Book It program.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you were getting a grade. Like all the books that like school, like I read The Great Gatsby and the book and the Grapes of Wrath and Hamlet and Macbeth and what other 1984. I read all
good. Yeah, I read
that
one.
19. Well, back then it sucked because you were a high school kid and you were like, this book sucks.
I read in 7th grade. It was good.
Yeah, books.
There's only one book.
Books sucked.
There's only one book like from like the required class reading that I ever just said, nah, this is terrible. I'm just going to read the Spark Notes. That was Brave New World. Brave New World is a pile of trash.
Like I did all those because I wanted to get good grades. Like I was super competitive, but like Book It, I didn't get a grade. Did I read that? Oh yeah.
You were lying.
Oh yeah. For the
get
pizza.
Free personal pan pizza.
Yes. Back then when that was considered a delicacy.
Shame on you.
I'm gonna see if we'll see. I got so many questions to ask Jesse. One, where did he gamble at? Two, do you remember Book It? Did you ever lie when you read those books? What book did you think sucked? I hated like 1984 now makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
1984, when I read that when I was like a freshman or whatever it was, book sucked.
We might have read it the same year.
Terrible. Coming up next, Jesse Newell joins us. Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star joining us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Jesse, you can follow him on Twitter at Jesse Newell. Jesse, how you doing?
Hey, Jake, how's it going?
Got a couple questions for you. As you know, normally the first couple have nothing to do with sports. So the first one I've got for you is, did you ever lie about reading books during Pizza Hut's Book It just so you could get the personal pan pizza?
That was a long time ago. I do not remember lying. I know I cashed in for the personal pan pizza, and they had some cool buttons with them.
Yep.
The stars, little 3D stuff with the little star stickers. You got it. So no, I think I actually did read the books and earned them, but no, it was a big deal to earn that and go to Pizza Hut. That was. I'll lament it. Something kids nowadays just never will experience.
Man of integrity, Jesse Newell, actually doing the reading, unlike a certain Jake LeBon.
Now,
out there being fraudulent.
It's not like I lied on all, because then you had to
like book him for prison.
Yeah, I just not, because I think you had to do 5. I think you had to read 5 books because it had the 5 stars, right? The button and everything. I think I was good for at least one. I didn't read one of those, but I put the star down anyways. It's not like I did all 5. I lied on all 5 of them. But I think at least one book a year, I was like, yeah, I totally read that. And I just wanted the pizza. Like Jesse just said, that was a big deal going to Pizza Hut and getting the free personal pan pizza. Now, my kid gets breadsticks all the time. He loves breadsticks. It's
bringing all sorts of memories. Do you remember the Big 12 basketballs that they used to have?
Yes.
Just the big rubber ones every year with the Big 12. Oh, man.
It was black, too. It was a great rubber basketball, man. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we got those for sure. I was now just kind of in my mind thinking, I felt like we were like the experimentation generation because, do you think that Pizza Hut did more good for children or the DARE program? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Oh, pizza.
Probably, right?
Easy.
Did more good for the world.
Easy.
DARE to give kids free pizza, I think, would have been a huge hit.
Yeah, easy. All right, second question, Jesse. When you went to Vegas, where did you stay at, and did you partake in any wagers of a specific game or entrepreneur situation?
I stayed at South Point, which is
south of the Strip.
South of the Strip. Got the gold windows. Kind of stayed there. It's a nice place. It's got everything you kind of want there.
You got a good sports book there.
Good sports book. Lots of food options. It's not the Ritz of the Ritz like the Strip is, but they've got some good gameplay. So, if you go there, you get some good comps and things like that. And so played a little bit of poker there. So got that in. A little bit tired here on the way back. And somehow, some way, Jake, I kid you not, they were doing lotteries in the poker room yesterday, and they would pick a name randomly, and the name randomly would get every 20 minutes would get a certain amount of money, and they went all the way from $100 to $500 drawings, and out of 180 people, Jesse Newell popped up in the lottery for $250. So that's when you know that you're living right.
Nice. Look at that, Jesse Newell. Little work and a little play there. Oh, that's nice, Jesse. That's a good effort there, man. All right. What was it like there at Allegiant? Is it truly 40% Chiefs fans there when they played?
Yeah, that or more. And
that's
what's
wild.
Tricky is what's a little tricky is that the red really pops and black really doesn't pop. You know what I mean? So when you're in a stadium, it's easy to be looking around and go, "Oh my gosh, this is like 3/4 Chiefs fans." It probably is not that much because again, when you're looking at it, your eyes are kind of deceiving you a little bit. But no, there's a lot. And I will say this for the Raiders fans: the Raiders fans that were there made a lot of noise, like pregame, and when they got up 14-0, the volume was loud still. But this is the game. Just being on the Chiefs beat the second year. That's the game. Now I know. That one I didn't go to the Chargers game last year, but that one in LA, it seems like those two are the ones where Chiefs fans really take over. It makes sense, right, guys? I mean, if you're a diehard Las Vegas Raiders fan, if you want to go to a road game, you're not thinking, oh, Kansas City, this is my vacation destination to go to and make this a whole weekend of it. I mean, if you want to go to the game, great. If you want to go tailgate, great. But it's not like a destination place to go. If you're a Chiefs fan and the Chiefs tickets in Arrowhead are already mega expensive, why not pay for the flight? Why not get the cheap ticket? And then why not partake in other activities in Vegas while you're already there? So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of Chiefs fans to be there. But I still am amazed when I show up and, especially pregame, this is where kind of the mindset comes in. It feels like this is the same way with KU basketball, where KU basketball fans on the road, they want to get in 2 hours early. They want to check out the surroundings. They want to get their food, be in their seat. So when they're there before the home team's fans are, who you roll in, you've been there every game, you have to be there in your seat really early. So pregame, it looks like there's only Chiefs fans. And then as the game starts, the Raiders fans filter in and make some noise, those things like that. But it still is amazing in person to see that and just see kind of how big that Chiefs Nation has become, because when they play in Vegas, it does feel at least like a neutral game. But when the Chiefs are on defense, it even gets pretty loud in there. So it's pretty impressive what the fans do.
All righty, let's actually talk some football. Do you think the Chiefs offense is fixed?
No, I mean, I think there are some positive signs. I think right now you look at the bigger sample of what they are, and they are a top 10 offense when we expect them to every year be like a top 2 offense. The good news for the Chiefs is that I believe in the defense now through whatever 12 weeks, 11 weeks, to say that they're way better than we thought they were going to be. And the special teams has performed really well too when you take into account Harrison Butker. So the Chiefs are a well-balanced, really good football team. But, if I'm going to look at the offense and say, what is sustainable about what they did, I really like what their interior offensive line has done the last 2 games. When they've had short yard situations, which are really important when it comes down to, they haven't been able to throw deep passes, they haven't been able to get chunk plays. Now when they get in third and one is really crucial. And right now you're seeing Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, especially Creed Humphrey, the last 2 games has been dominant. I mean, he has been one of the, if not the Chiefs' best player out there. And that makes just so many things better for the Chiefs, because now when you're running the football, you're gaining 6 or 7 every time. Now when it's third and 1, you don't think about it. You just run a trap play and you've got the first down and a few yards after that. So I think that's a big deal for the Chiefs. Their tackles have struggled this year. We all know about the receiver thing that's happening. Patrick Mahomes and some of the chemistry issues there. They did seem to keep it more simple, and it seemed like it was effective also. They've run Rashee Rice on a lot of hitch routes where he kind of comes back and turns around for the ball, and that's maybe led to some drops where last game they had him running across the field, so you catch it and you keep running, that sort of thing. So some schematic changes maybe that make things a little bit simpler and a little bit better for Rashee Rice, but his emergence is obviously a positive. But right now, I mean, I think the Chiefs, you're not going to expect their offense to not be, somewhere in the top 5 range. So if you have that with a top 10 defense, with a top 5 special teams, you have a really good football team. But to say everything's fixed, probably not. But the Chiefs did avoid mistakes much better against the Raiders than they did in previous games. And that's the reason they ran away with that game and had a much better offensive performance than we've seen in recent weeks.
Who's more important for this Chiefs offense to get touches? Is it Pacheco? He needs to get 15 to 20 touches a game. When he touches the ball, good things happen. Andrew didn't like to run the ball, but it felt different, and he got 15 carries, also 5 targets. Or is it Rashee Rice at the wide receiver spot?
So kind of a dangerous answer here. I would say Rice, because you see things open up when he's playing well. You know what I mean? Like the big question everybody asks is like, who is the counter part to Travis Kelce? You know what I mean? Like who, when they're double and triple teaming Travis Kelce, like the Philadelphia Eagles did, who can you go to? Who can beat man coverage? Who can run away from coverage over the middle of the field? Who can get back? Who can do those things to make sure that when it seems like the most knows better than anybody, which he's right about having the football effective than running it. There still is a part in there where Isaiah Pacheco is important. And I think where he's important is what I've mentioned, which is if the Chiefs are struggling and teams are dropping into coverage against them, last year a lot of times what they did to get out of those tricky situations is they ran the football. They put tight ends on the field, they blocked well, they used their interior front. We're seeing them run the football a little bit better now. I'm not sure Pacheco's value to me is that I think there's a pretty severe drop off after him. You know what I mean? Like, I think if he gets hurt, that's bad for the Chiefs. But I don't think that his value to the offense is superior to what Rashee Rice is. I just think that the Chiefs need to sort of work right now to make sure that he is not completely beat up for the playoffs. And they kind of relied on him as a workhorse back this last game. And I understand these games are important. You want to get the 1 seed and everything, but the depth there is probably a little bit scary for the Chiefs right now. So they got to hope that Jerick McKinnon gets over his groin injury. Maybe he can get a few more snaps. If nothing else, you get Pacheco as healthy as possible to the postseason. But I do think it's Rice. I think the pass game obviously is more important for the Chiefs, more important for every NFL team. And if they can find a way to make teams pay for double teaming Travis Kelce, then they're going to solve a lot of their issues offensively. And we saw part of that against the Raiders. And if that continues to happen, we've heard Patrick Mahomes talk about it repeatedly the last 2 weeks. If you make teams pay for doubling Travis Kelce, for putting a lot of attention on him, then they'll come out of that. And all of a sudden, this kind of goes in the cycle again, where the Chiefs can kind of pick on where the defense is weakest on any particular week that they go into the football game.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star, covers the Kansas City Chiefs. Find him on Twitter at Jesse Newell. Jesse, over on the defensive side of the ball, do you think it's realistic that Trent McDuffie might have a shot at being an All-Pro this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be up there. Pro Bowl for sure. You know, All-Pros, it's tougher because it's just, 2 in the entire league. But, I was just doing a Q&A with a Green Bay Packers writer, and one of the questions they asked me was, who is somebody on the Chiefs that Packers fans don't know about but should? And, I mean, that's the answer, right? I mean, he has been spectacular. And it's been so good for the Chiefs to kind of scheme him up because L'Jarius Sneed has been playing on the outside. That wasn't always the case last year. A lot of times L'Jarius Sneed was playing the slot, but now they mostly moved him outside, which puts Trent McDuffie in the inside, and he's just kind of like this queen on the chessboard because not only is he great in coverage and he's super smart, he's a good tackler, he's a physical player. We've seen him lead the NFL in forced fumbles forced this season, but they've had so much success. If you guys kind of really watch it, especially the last 2 weeks, they've had so much success with this certain blitz where McDuffie comes off the edge. And he's such a good rusher. He stays in his lane. He comes a million miles an hour. He could even kind of break some blocks. He did that for one of those sacks against Jalen Hurts. But what's so good about this for the Chiefs, and it was interesting because Jason Kelce actually brought this up when he was asked about the Chiefs a couple weeks ago before the Chiefs-Eagles game, which is usually when you think about blitzing is like a risk. You know what I mean? You're bringing a bunch of bodies, but you're risking, hey, if they throw the ball over the top, there's going to be maybe potentially some big plays on the back end. When the Chiefs run this particular blitz, which has gotten home for like 3 or 4 sacks the last 2 weeks, you guys go back and watch it. McDuffie comes off the edge. The Chiefs run a stunt on that same side, which kind of weakens the edge, makes it a little bit tougher to block him on the outside. And then they have a defensive lineman drop into coverage on the other side, and then they have one rusher from the other side. And so really, we're calling it a blitz. They're rushing 4 guys. And so that means they drop back and they're playing cover 2 behind it. So the Chiefs are kind of like having their cake and eating it too. You know what I mean? They're getting Trent McDuffie doing what he does best, roaring off the edge. You're getting a soft edge on that side. You're confusing offensive linemen. Sometimes you're having 2 or 3 guys block one guy on the other side, usually Chris Jones, because the attention goes his way. And oh, by the way, if the offensive line deciphers this and the quarterback deciphers all this, they're still going against the cover 2 zone, which is like a normal zone defense you'd be going against. So he's been part of what's been really good for the Chiefs defense, which is kind of keeping things confusing, changing things right before the snap, being unpredictable. But there's very few weaknesses in this game. Guys, from going in the locker room, I know he studies a ton. I think he studies more than anybody else in there, potentially, other than Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. He talks about study sessions he has at his house. He gets up in the morning, has his coffee, wants to break down opponents, learn tendencies. The Chiefs remain really good in press man coverage too. He has some strategies he can use there. I know Dave Merritt, the quarterback coach, has talked about how he is perfecting his craft on different ones, using against different receivers. But he's just complete, well-rounded, really good football player. You add the blitzing to this and the unpredictability, and he's just in a perfect spot. So All-Pro would not shock me at this point, but definitely Pro Bowler, and he's the guy that's emerged this year that really has been a key to the Chiefs defense emerging to the level it has.
What do you think the chances are the Chiefs run the rack in their final 6 games? Obviously, they start in Green Bay this Sunday. After that, Buffalo, which looks much less daunting than it did when the regular season began, at New England, Las Vegas at home, Cincinnati, also less daunting than it looked when the season started, and then the road trip to the Chargers at the end, a game that if the Chiefs win their next 5, that may not mean anything, but let's just look at the next 5 then. What are the chances you think the Chiefs win all 5?
You got to add all those kind of together. You're probably giving the Chiefs like an 80% chance to win most of those, or 75 to 80. But the odds are you're going to get tripped up in 1 or 2 of those. Then if you kind of add all those up, so probably 25%, 30%. But that schedule does lighten up, to your point, absolutely. And the Chiefs have one of the friendliest schedules here down the stretch of any team out there. So that's good for them. I still think the Bills are dangerous, and we know the Bills play the Chiefs well in Arrowhead. I mean, there's no question about that. And for all the you can look at with the record for what's happened with the Bills, I don't know. It's a little bit Chargers-like. The Chargers too, where it's like these weird fluke things keep happening to them, where they keep losing close games, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily. I mean, the Bills could still beat the Chiefs by 10. You know what I mean? Like that's not out of the realm of possibility because they got a really good quarterback, they got a really good defense, and just because some of this close game variance hasn't gone their way doesn't mean that they can't flip that thing on a dime and have a couple good games in a row. So I wouldn't put it very high, but as you said, I mean, the 1 seed's really important. Chiefs are in a good position. The schedule lightens up, and we've seen them under Andy Reid. Like we saw this last game with the Raiders. Usually they figure things out late in the season, and they find a way to put their pieces in good positions to make plays. And just like we saw with Rashee Rice, he seemed like one of the most dangerous threats for the Chiefs offense. Now he's got a 100-yard game. Now he's got 8 catches. Now they're finding different ways to get him the football, lining him up in different places, and having him get more chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. And suddenly this Chiefs offense looks a little bit different than what it might have been expected before. So, this will be fascinating how it plays out. I still think the Chiefs are the favorite in the AFC. It seems like the Ravens would be the next highest one up. But if you were going into the season thinking, oh my gosh, it could be Chiefs Jets, it could be Chiefs Bills, it could be Chiefs Bengals, it could be Chiefs Chargers, all these teams that could be contenders, to look at it now and go, well, the Chiefs might not be quite as good as we thought, but yet the only true real challenger you would say that has kind of risen above what you thought would be the Ravens. You would take this if you're the Chiefs. And last year, we remember the Bills were kind of a juggernaut along with the Chiefs. There's no other AFC juggernaut out there. So the Chiefs might have taken a half step back, but I think the AFC as a whole really has taken a full step back from what we thought. So the Chiefs overall are in good position.
Jesse, we appreciate the time, my friend. We got to get going. Have yourself a great rest of the week.
Take it easy, guys.
Hour number 3, 580 Sports Talk, coming to you on a Tuesday. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, not here.
No.
He should be in Brookings, South Dakota by now.
Beautiful Brookings.
Said nobody ever.
You ever been?
Yes.
I have too.
I have been to Brookings.
Dakota Wesleyan University's there too, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
SDSU, the Jackrabbits. Not a big place. Like it's not huge.
It's like 23,000 people.
If that, maybe. Yeah, it's not big at all. Yeah. But Washburn is in action tonight, 6:45 pregame.
It's the women only tonight.
Just the women, correct.
An exhibition game, so does not count against the record.
Yeah. So that is coming up tonight on our sister station. So Brendan not here, Jake LeBon, Dan Lucero with you. We got What Is Wrong With You, and we'll talk a little KU as well with Michael Swain of Fog.net will join us coming up at the bottom of this hour. So we got plenty to get to here on this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Want to get to some interesting kind of future discussions. But this is not surprising when it involves Travis Kelce. Dan, you found this, and when you told me about this, I was like, yeah, this makes total sense. I don't want to say the decline is starting for Travis Kelce because he's still on pace for over 1,100 yards, had almost 100 yards again. I think he's going to get close to 8 or 9 touchdowns. And if you're at 1,100 yards, 8 or 9 touchdowns, you're awesome. But he's not playing as much. And I think this is 100% planned.
Well,
before I
give you the numbers, I want to ask you, and thought experiment for our audience, and you can text into your thoughts to 785-272-9429, the text line, or you can comment on the YouTube stream if you're watching on the stream as well. But just from your eye test, do you feel like Travis Kelce is the same player this year as he has been in the past?
I would say slightly no, but that's because the bar for Travis Kelce is very high.
It is. He set an astonishingly high bar. You can argue he's the best tight end of all time. I think there are games this year, and we talked about it coming out of the Monday night game, that the reason that the wide receivers have been such a big problem, or so it has felt this season, is because you're not getting elite production from Travis Kelce. And in games where Kelce hasn't produced at a high level, the Chiefs passing game has suffered because there's nobody in that receiver group to pick up the slack. Look at the games that they lost this year. Kelce got erased by the Broncos. He didn't play against the Lions, and he didn't do a whole lot against the Eagles either, and those are the 3 Chiefs losses. So he's still obviously really important to the success of this team's passing game. And the production is good, maybe even great. But again, like you said, the bar is so high that any slippage, perceived or otherwise, by a player of Travis Kelce's caliber is going to be, I think, assumed to be a lot more acute than it actually is. That's why these stats surprised me. Bill Barnwell had this on ESPN.com. In 2022, the future Hall of Famer, Kelce, averaged 2.44 yards per route run. That ranked 11th in the league among all receivers, not tight ends, 11th in the league among all pass catchers in terms of yards per route run. In 2023, after a solid week 12, Kelce's actually up to 2.52 yards per route run, which is 14th among all receivers. He was targeted on 28.5% of his routes last season and is actually seeing the ball more often this season with a target rate just north of 30%. On a snap-by-snap basis, he is better than the guy we saw a year ago.
That's wild.
Wild to think about.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
like,
crazy.
And again, like, I know that the perception is, well, the numbers aren't as high as they have been. There have been games where he has been a little more silent. He's missed a game due to injury. He was affected by injury against Minnesota. That's the perception. But the reality is, on a snap-by-snap basis, he's been every bit as good or even maybe better. Here is the difference. He's not playing as many snaps.
Yeah.
Reed has steadily brought down, this is Barnwell again, Reed has steadily brought down Kelce's snap share. After playing a career-high 95% of the snaps during Mahomes' first season as a starter in 2018, his share of the workload has dropped in each of the ensuing seasons. He was at 93% in 2019, 86% in 2020, 82% in 2021, and 80% in 2022. Those numbers don't include games missed or sat out. This season, leaving aside week 1 where he didn't play, Kelce had played only about 71% of the offensive snaps for the Chiefs before the Eagles game. Unsurprisingly, in a close contest against a great opponent, Reed upped Kelce's snap share for that game to 94%, with Kelce playing nearly 20 more snaps than he had in any other game. On Sunday, against the Raiders, he was back down to 76% of the offensive snaps. He's now at 74% for the entire season and running about 29 routes per game, down from just over 32 routes per contest a year ago. The Philadelphia game should tell us what we need to know. Reed is going to up Kelce's snap rate when the games matter most, which should be no surprise. The good news for Chiefs fans and their best case for finishing yet again as the top seed in the AFC is there might not be many games taxing Kelce until the postseason. Goes back to the point we made when we had Jesse Newell on last hour, that it's a very manageable run-in the rest of the way. So here we go. Concrete evidence on a snap-by-snap basis. Travis Kelce's the same as he's ever been. The same. He's just playing less. And on the one hand, I think it's hard to argue that that's not a prudent thing to do with a 34-year-old tight end to, ease back on him a little bit. Make sure the snaps he plays are the ones that count. But on the flip side, do you think that not playing Kelce as often has been part of the reason that the Chiefs passing game has struggled to gain traction this year? If he's out there less, on big downs, if he's out there less in passing situations, do you think that's actually having a negative impact in the short term with the hope of a positive impact over the long haul?
I don't think so. And the reason why is the reason the offense hasn't been very good is because of turnovers and drop passes. Like that's it. It's turnovers and drop passes, and Travis Kelce is one of them who's had a key fumble and some drops, but I think that's the biggest. I mean, the Chiefs beat the Eagles if MVS just catches the ball.
All he's got to do, right?
That's all you got to do. Like, there's the win right there.
They beat the Lions if Kadarius Toney catches the ball.
Just catches the ball. They might even beat the Broncos if Sky Moore just catches the ball. Like, and they might beat the Broncos if MVS doesn't fumble. Who else fumbled in that? Was that Kelce?
Hardman fumbled the punt.
And they got it back, didn't they?
No, that was, they were down a score and Hardman fumbled the punt inside the 10.
Yeah, Mr. I'm going to catch it at the 3. Like, so that's why I don't think the offense is different because of less Travis Kelce. I just think it's the fundamentals and the focus and whatever you want to say there. But do you think Andy Reid knows, like, okay, Travis, you're in on this play? Or does he tell him to come out? Or, you know what I mean? Like, how do we know that that's a Reid thing? Like, does he got somebody on the sidelines like, well, he's played in, 28 snaps of the 30.
Let's rotate him out on this play, or let's have him not in the game.
That, like, or is that just?
I've often wondered how that works.
Or is that Kelce who is like, because like wide receivers, for an example, they run a deep route, don't want to get back there in time. They'll just walk over to the side, come back in next play. Like Tyreek Hill did that a lot of times, in the second quarter, run a go route, incomplete. I ain't running all the way back there. I'll miss one rep,
Sure.
Is Travis Kelce purposely not playing I don't know, because
does he have any input on, and I wonder if, like, I don't know, he doesn't do media availability every week, but I'd be interested to see if somebody would ask either him or Matt Nagy or Andy Reid directly, like, okay, Travis Kelce snap count is down this year. And that's been a trend. This is not, this is the year we decided we can't play Travis Kelce 95% of snaps. No, he had played 95% of the snaps since 2018. He's been in the 80s the last couple of years. This is just another step backwards for his snap load. And again, it makes sense. He's 34 years old. It makes sense to want to have him fresh for when the important games in this season roll around. So then you can play him 95% of the snaps against Buffalo or against Cincinnati, which you may not need him for that many snaps against the Jake Browning Bengals or whoever you got in the divisional round, whoever you got in the AFC Championship game. Like, those are the games you want to play Travis Kelce a lot. But it would be interesting to see, because football players don't like to come out of games. I can't imagine that Travis Kelce is necessarily thrilled with the idea of sitting out any given play. But I do wonder if there have been some games this year where some drives stalled out because of a third down rep where Travis Kelce wasn't on the field. And I feel like I'd have to go back and really get granular with the data there, but I don't think they're taking him out on a lot of like 3rd and 8s. But, maybe your second down turns into a bad play because Kelce's not on the field. You don't have that safety valve, and it puts you in a bad spot for that 3rd down. And maybe they need him on the field more to be the best version of themselves. And so you sacrifice a little bit of that for the sake of having a fresher Travis Kelce in January. Hard to argue against the long-term benefit.
And that's what I think they're doing with McKinnon. No, it's the perfectly. Oh, and that's crazy how he's still the same dude.
But the routes he's running are the same.
And he missed a game.
And looked like he was going to come out of the Minnesota game.
Yeah, with that ankle. Yeah, he was pounding. Oh, yeah. And he's had some drops. I think what they're doing with Kelce is perfectly fine. I always thought that they needed to, do the same thing. McKinnon's been readily known. Hey, we're not going to use him a whole lot in the first part of the season. I would do that with Kadarius Toney right now. I would shelve Kadarius Toney until he is healthy. And then, put him and ignite him out of the backfield running and throwing all those type of things, because your schedule outside of the Bills game, and the Bills will be coming off a bye. And that is going to be, if they lose that game, they're under 500. They're 6-7. That's wild.
Yeah.
I really want that to happen. I really do.
Yeah, that game is their season. Like, they're going to throw the kitchen sink.
Yeah. Oh man. I really want that to happen now, because I was on a bus when I was on vacation, and some Bills fan was like, "Oh, Tyreek's not on your team anymore. You guys aren't going to be very good. I think it's our year. I don't even think you're going to make the playoffs." I wonder if that guy thinks about what he said to me that day, because I think about that almost every time the Bills come up, where I'm like, remember that idiot who was like, "Yeah, the Chiefs are going to suck and we're going to be awesome, and you're not even going to make the divisional round, and then you might not even make the playoffs the next year." I want to find that guy and laugh at him.
We talk about that being the kitchen sink game for the Bills out of the bye. They play next week. They play Dallas.
No, they're off next week.
No, not the week after.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
So they got this off week, and then they've got they got to win them both. Probably.
You got to win one or two for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Coming up next, we got What Is Wrong With You, and then we'll hear from Michael Swain. What is wrong with you on this Tuesday? Jake LeBon and Dan Lucero with you. Brennan Dorzinski off, heading to South Dakota. So it'll be Dan and myself taking care of what is wrong with you today. All right, Dan, first and foremost, we got to go through who's our reigning champ. What do we got?
Reigning champion is the gentleman in Morgantown, West Virginia, who fired a gun into a staircase and threatened to kill somebody because they ate all the tacos. Tacos are serious business, but I don't think they're that serious, right?
If there's one thing, no, tacos are delicious, man. Ooh, it's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. I don't know if it was a Taco Tuesday for them, but any day's a good day for tacos. I just feel like you're in a college town, Morgantown. They definitely got a Taco Bell open late. Somebody eats all the tacos. Go get some more tacos. By the way, we should mention also that What Is Wrong With You is sponsored by Top City Metal Supply. Top City Metal cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal. Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Jake, as you were the guest, I'm going to give you first ups. What do you got today?
All righty. My first or my only story, I guess, today involves hiding a firearm.
Oh, no.
Mine's not coming up here.
Oh, no.
What happened?
It came up for me. I see where he hid the handgun. Oh, no. Oh, no.
You can't do what he's doing.
No. You want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and read it. I don't know why it's not coming up on my...
32-year-old Christopher Boyd in Evansville, Indiana, who is an ex-con with a lengthy rap sheet. He had a pistol stashed...
Or the sun don't shine.
Yeah, in his rectum when he was booked into jail early this morning on November 27th.
Yeah, and then the wild part about this was... So he gets booked, right? He's in there, and then upon arriving at the county jail, Boyd was, quote, now walking with a limp and appeared to be clenching his buttocks when he walked. He was placed through a body scanner, which detected a large object in his groin region. The strip search located 2 plastic bags of marijuana and a gun. Dan, I don't know about you, but did he sit in the car with it there?
Presumably the whole time.
Hope it wasn't a long car ride.
They probably would have seen him try to tuck the gun. That's not a safe place to store your weapon.
Police then sought to remove an unknown item from his, sun don't shine, and he continued to clench his butt, and they were able to see that it was there.
The report does not indicate whether the gun was loaded. Man, you're playing a dangerous game. You got a loaded firearm stashed in your jail wallet.
Real dangerous. Like
that's so bad.
Like,
man.
you're down real bad. Like can I think what was better to do would do the old thing where, like, my son actually pulled the old dad look over there type of deal, and you look over there, and then you throw the gun there. You just get rid of it.
So I love this detail. It was a Smith & Wesson bodyguard pistol. It's a .380 caliber weapon, weighs around 12 ounces, so weighs less than a pound, and is about 5 inches long. With its micro frame size, the pistol is lightweight and simple to use and perfectly suited for concealed carry, according to the manufacturer's website.
Yeah.
Though I can't imagine that kind of concealment is what Smith or Wesson had in mind.
Yeah, he's definitely concealing it. He just carried it in a different spot.
Like, if I knew I wasn't supposed to have a gun, it was against the law, I would simply not have a gun.
This is wild. All right, Dan, what do you got?
And I would definitely not put it there. All right, we're going to North Miami Beach, Florida, where a Florida woman has found herself behind bars after allegedly using counterfeit bills at Walmart and then trying to eat the fake money when she was detained by police. 38-year-old Zipporah Abraham was arrested, charged with third-degree grand theft and uttering forged bills after the incident that unfolded at a Walmart in North Miami Beach. Walmart loss prevention officer was notified that a customer, later identified as Abraham, was trying to use fake money to pay for items. Whenever I think of fake money, did you ever see The Wire?
No, I've never seen The Wire.
I always think of the scene where they're trying to pass the counterfeit bills and they fool the drug runners.
Is this Omar? I hear somebody
No,
named Omar is very important.
This isn't Omar. This is D'Angelo yelling at one of the corner kids. This is like money to you. Money be green. Money be green. And the kid says,
I've heard The Wire is very good.
It's so good. And the kid looks back at him and says, well, you got a dead bleeping president on it. one of the great lines on that show. Money be green. Anyhow, when Walmart employees looked at the store surveillance footage, they realized this wasn't the first time Abraham was involved in an incident at the store. The affidavit does not go into further detail, but says she was an offender in the past. Abraham was seen hiding several products in a storage bin and pacing back and forth until she found a window of opportunity to leave the store with the items. She allegedly walked past all points of sale with the storage bin, was stopped by the loss prevention officer. She was taken to the loss prevention office for an investigation. It was discovered that the unpaid items in the storage bin totaled $864.77. When the officer asked her to remove the jewelry from her wrist before being placed into custody, she put $200 worth of counterfeit bills in her mouth and tried to eat them. So that could be two $100 bills. That could be four $50 bills. That could be, let's do the math on this here, 10 $20 bills.
I got a question.
It could have been two $101 bills. Or since we're dealing with counterfeit money, it could have been one $200 bill, which obviously does not exist. But it's counterfeit.
I got a question here. How long would it take you to eat a fake
like a
bill?
Like a fake bill?
I feel like trying to chew even like a regular dollar bill would be difficult.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting that down my gullet in a hot hurry. I don't think I'm like,
especially if there's multiple.
I'm not going Joey Chestnut on some dollar bills. You know, I'm not throating a dollar bill.
I'm trying to. Now it's fake, so is it it can't be the exact same material.
No, not the same consistency probably. It's probably closer to like actual paper.
For the first time in my entire life, I kind of want to eat a piece of paper just to see what it would be like. I'm not going to lie to you right now. Like I want to take like a piece of paper and try to eat it and see just how difficult it would be. Would you get like a paper cut in your mouth?
I would think that would be possible. You put paper in your mouth, you can slice the inside of your mouth.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Also, you can't go back to this. Like the number one thing that jumped out at me there, you can't go back to a place that you've already like been arrested at or gotten in trouble with.
They've seen your movies. Like they know what you're about. They got your picture up on the wall. Like do not sell to this person.
Like, hey, you listen to one Billie Eilish song, they're all the same. Like, oh wow. It's not as if.
Why did she not try to pay for these goods with the counterfeit bills? Why was that not her first
Have you
move?
ever seen somebody try to pay with a bill at a place and then they're like, this isn't real money?
I've never actually seen that happen.
I haven't either. Like, do you suppose, like, let's say I have $100 bill and I give it to someone. Dan, you know me, I'm not a counterfeiter. And I give them the $100 bill and it's deemed counterfeit. Do I get in trouble?
I think if you're I think if you try to spend.
But I didn't know that I had a counterfeit bill.
But it's still a counterfeit bill. You're trying to pass fake money as real money.
But what if
you got bamboozled, like you get in a certain amount of trouble. Like I don't think you're going to do Fed time for trying to pass a counterfeit bill.
I don't think I should get in any trouble because I didn't know it was counterfeit.
It probably depends on where you got it. Like if you can tell like an officer, like, hey, look, this was given to me like as change by somebody, and I didn't know it was fake.
Yeah, that's why I don't think you'd get in trouble for it.
Yeah, like if you could help them find the supplier, if you could help them trace back the origin of the bill, then maybe slide. But this woman just needed to get rid of. She only had.
She started eating it.
She ate it, just jammed it in her mouth, like right in front of the loss prevention person.
Who do you get winning today?
Both of these are great stories.
Yes,
there are no losers today, but we have to pick a winner, and I think the visual of the woman cramming counterfeit money down her throat is funnier to me than the visual guy with a gun in his butt.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. So I'll go with the comedy over the danger, I suppose.
Yes.
Does that beat guy trying to commit a murder over tacos? He
tried to do it. He didn't actually do it.
This woman tried to eat $200. I think we have our answer. I think
The slapstick comedy wins
right.
in that aspect.
It's a lot
of it.
funnier than a guy threatening to blow somebody's head off over tacos.
Yeah, because if he actually did it, well, we don't. That's not allowed here in What Is Wrong with You.
Yeah, it would have been disqualified.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We draw the line at death.
Actual murder. Yeah, that's rule number 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's just absolutely stupid.
So, okay,
Yeah.
we've got our
Yeah.
counterfeit cash chomper, as I just came up with right now off the top of my head. That's going to win today. That's going to win our week. That's going to be our weekly winner here on What Is Wrong With You, because we've got our monthly semifinals for November tomorrow, and we will pick a November champion. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the year and our What Is Wrong With You tournament of champions. It's brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, as he does every Tuesday at this time, is Michael Swain of Fog.net for Jayhawk Weekly. And lots to get to in Jayhawk world as we open the segment. Michael, I want to start with some football as KU wraps up their season 8-4 after they pull out Cincinnati on Saturday. all in all told, big picture, is this, I mean, you can't say it's anything but a rousing success of a season, but is there any melancholy, maybe wishing you could have a couple of those 4 losses back, or is it unreserved positivity coming from Jayhawk football?
Well, I'd certainly understand it if you wanted to go back and say, oh, what if, and think about the season that way. I could also probably spin that, and say, hey, that's probably the case for a lot of college football programs out there, right? If you're playing competitive football, right, sometimes the bounces aren't going to go your way. And that was the case for KU this season, right? I think there are a couple times that the big moment didn't go KU's way, and that's fine, right? There are seasons where that happens, and there are seasons where it goes the other way, right? And you get a little lucky and you end up winning a little bit more than maybe the metrics or the numbers show you. So I look at this as a trend line, right? The program is headed in the right direction. It is a program that can return a lot of players for next year, and I think it's all headed in the right direction. I think it's also a good thing that KU fans can look at the season and say, oh man, we could have maybe won, 9 or 10 games, but we only won 8. Right, that's a pretty good spot to be in, considering where the program was for, really the last 10, 15 years.
When you look back at what you predicted for this KU team going into this season, where did they most exceed your expectations, and where did they maybe fail to become what you thought they might become? I guess what I'm asking is, what were you most right about? What were you most wrong about?
Yeah, so I predicted KU to go 7-5. I thought the offense would be about what we saw last year, which it was. Probably, what maybe was most wrong about is, Jalen Daniels not being able to play. And I think Jason Bean reaching a level that I did not know he had in him. I was always a believer that, hey, you can win Big 12 football games with Jason Bean, but for Bean to help lead KU to 8 wins when Jalen Daniels, our starter, played, in 3? And Cole Ballard started 1, and Bean didn't even finish another. So you're looking when Jason Bean played KU and had prep time, right? Texas game. So you're looking at this, and Jason Bean reached a level I did not know he had. I did think KU's defense would be better this year. I think you can see that in the way that they got after the quarterback, right? Austin Booker, when the Big 12 awards come out tomorrow, should be somewhere on one of the all Big 12 teams. That's how productive he was. And KU's defense did take a step forward, even if at times, right, the point totals at the end of games looked a little high. So I think it's one of those seasons, right, where I think it was a bit the way I thought it'd go. I think KU gets that extra win right against Oklahoma that I was not predicting, but outside of that, it kind of went as I thought. You saw improvement in all 3 phases. KU did not lose outside of one game, arguably the biggest game of the season, on special teams, and the rest of the units took steps forward. So I think overall, it's probably close to what I thought, even if, there are probably some parts where I was wrong.
Joining us is Michael Swain from Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscribe today, become a VIP, get you access to all of the great work and inside information on KU athletics at Fog.net and across the 24/7 Sports Network. Check out Michael on Twitter at mswain247. He joins us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Now that the regular season is over, the transfer portal is open. What is your read on what Kansas might expect to lose? I'm not asking for names, just a general sort of impact of what do you think the impact of the transfer portal will be as far as departures, and where long-term might KU look to add in the transfer portal?
Yeah, so I think KU now is in a spot roster-wise, which is pretty healthy, KU, in terms of outgoings, right, has the guaranteed departures from graduation, and they've replaced those departures with high school recruits. And now they're at a point where any outgoing transfer is going to be a spot that is opened up for an incoming transfer. So, it's one of these situations where I think KU will have players transfer out. I think it's just the nature of college football. Guys are going to leave, right? I think you saw things start to move for K-State probably a little quicker than they will for KU. I think coaches are doing kind of some of those exit interviews this week where they discuss everything with the player, and they're brutally honest. I think Lance Leipold's talked about that, right? They meet with the position coach, they meet with Coach Leipold, and they go from there. And so I think there will be players that depart the program as naturally happens. I don't know if I'm expecting any major names to go in, but look, the transfer portal, I think, as other coaches across the country have said, it's the wild, wild west, and you can't really predict what's going to happen sometimes. So I can't sit here and tell you KU's not going to lose anybody good to the portal, or that they're not going to lose anybody. I think it's just a part of college football now where departures are going to happen. And I think for KU, it's just about, can you keep as many of your key players together as possible? And I do think that will be able to happen.
What are you hearing as far as bowl destinations for the Jayhawks?
Yeah, so this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, right? For me, I look at Texas, right? Can they make the college football playoff? If they do, all of a sudden this becomes a lot easier because then Oklahoma can take a step forward, potentially make it into your Six Bowl. That opens up the Alamo Bowl, which then maybe Kansas State could slide into. And then you're looking at, potentially the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because I've heard that they have the Pop-Tarts Bowl, that is, has said that they will take one of the Kansas schools, whether it be Kansas State or KU. So that's one option. And if Texas does not make the college football playoff, I think there's a world in which KU gets, I believe it's the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix, which is on December 26th, which would be a very, challenging bowl game for a lot of people, right? Day after Christmas. That's kind of hard to do. So those are kind of the two main ones that I've heard so far, but obviously I think we'll have a little bit clearer picture tonight once the college football playoff rankings come out.
Again, our guest is Michael Swain of Fog.net. This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time to talk all things KU. Again, check out the work of him and the staff at Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Let's pivot from the gridiron to the hardwood. KU goes 2-1 at the Maui Invitational. They lose in the semifinal to Marquette. They come back the next day and beat Tennessee in the third place game. What was your biggest takeaway from those 3 games down in Maui? Really, those 2 games down in Maui. The Chaminade game, you can't really take a whole lot from that probably. But what do you take away from KU going toe-to-toe with 2 other top 10 teams in the country, Marquette and Tennessee, on back-to-back days and coming out of that 1-1?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the situations where you can look at Marquette and say they pose issues that I think other teams will look to replicate, where if you can take DeJuan Harris out of the game, it really does make things really hard on KU because Kevin McCullough is a good ball handler, but he is not the same sort of facilitator that DeJuan Harris is. Now, Marco Jackson is not ready to be that player at this point in his Kansas career. So you can see how Kansas can get sped up, right? You take DeJuan Harris out of the game, you make DeJuan pass the ball to other guys, you make him get sped up. All of a sudden, it's really hard to get the ball to Hunter Dickinson when the guys on the perimeter are not passing the ball well, and you saw that. So I'd also argue and say, hey, Marquette is a lot further along than KU is. Marquette is a team that returns a lot of players, and they know how to play together. This Kansas team is just learning how to play together, and that's why this non-conference schedule, I think KU's got another loss in them, just because they're learning and trying to figure out what are the sets we can run, what is Hunter Dickinson's tendency, what is KJ's tendency playing at the 4 and on the wing. So this is a KU team that I think later in the season will be better than Marquette. But right now, they're not, and that's perfectly fine. I think the Tennessee game showed you some resiliency for KU, and that's something Bill Self talked about. It's not often you hear Bill Self praising his team in November, right? How many times we heard him come out and say, oh, we're soft, we don't guard anybody, and we don't play well. Well, he came out and said KU showed him some toughness after losing to Marquette 13 hours later to take the floor against Tennessee, a team that I think many are picking to win the SEC and is one of the most tough teams in the country, to come out and not only get punched in the mouth early on, but then to respond and control the second half in the way that KU did. So it's a tournament that you see some of the things happening for KU where you know this is going to be a tough team. You know what it's going to look like when KU is off a little bit. And so I think you're able to learn a good amount. And I think, probably go on and do a whole 30-minute radio hit on this, but I just think there are a lot of things you can learn. And for me, the most curious thing heading into this week of basketball is what happens with the starting spot, right? Is Jamari McDowell going to get more minutes after he played well in the Maui Invitational? Or do they stick with Marco Jackson? Does Nick Timberlake see his minutes go down even more than they were over the course of that tournament? So those are just some things I'll be looking for this week and kind of what I thought about Maui.
Do you think they've already gotten more than they anticipated getting at this point or at any point from Jamari McDowell, that he has come on so strongly and shown so well in his time on the floor that they're considering a role for him that they probably didn't think they were going to consider for him?
Sure. Well, I think, at this point in time, yes, right? I think Jamari McDowell has exceeded expectations. And I think, Bill Self said that, I think, a Big 12 media days or the team's media day, that Jamari was maybe the biggest surprise. This is a guy that they maybe were going to talk about redshirting, right? At some time over the summer before the roster turned out the way it did. So I think at this point in time, yes, Jamari has exceeded expectations. Now, long term, I think they expected that he would be able to help this team at some point in time. But to play 26 minutes against Tennessee and be one of the key figures in Cade turning it around, look, I didn't see that, and I'm not necessarily sure if that's something the coaching staff saw. But I think Jamari is a guy that, with the way he plays and his personality, I think it's really going to fit with this team because he's got confidence, right? And you need that if you're going to play along those other four guys who have been around for such a long time.
A lot of the national pundits, I was following along on Twitter as Kansas was losing to Marquette. And a lot of the national pundits were pointing to Nick Timberlake and saying how important he is to this Kansas team. And certainly KU is going to need more from Timberlake than he has given them to this point. So my question's a two-parter. Just how important is it that Timberlake sort of recapture or regain his role in the rotation? And what is the best case scenario that version of Timberlake look like and do for this team?
Yeah, so I think Timberlake's a guy that does not impact KU's floor, right? You look at what KU has and those four guys that we know who are going to play, and they're going to play a lot, right? Those guys are the ones that set the floor of this team. Someone like Nick Timberlake sets the ceiling because of the shooting he provides and the spacing he provides, where Kansas offensively can be at its best when Nick Timberlake is on the floor and opposing teams have to face guard him. Because what does that do? Well, that takes away a guy that can be in the paint next to Hunter Dickinson. It takes a guy out of the lane so DeWalton Harris or Kevin McCullough or KJ Adams can drive and cut. So you need Nick to be able to knock down shots and play with confidence. If you look at those clips, right, I think they're circulating last week, right, of him playing at Towson, you see just how aggressive he was and how confident he was in getting to his spots. And I think it's just going to be a work in progress of Bill Self, KU, and Timberlake finding what those spots look like. And then defensively, he just can't get blown by. Like, it's pretty simple. He's got to stay in front of his man and not make mistakes and allow guys free line drives right at Hunter Dickinson, right? That's the best way to get sat on the bench, is getting Hunter Dickinson in foul trouble because you can't guard somebody. So I think those are the things that he needs to focus on. And I think it's going to be all about, for him, finding confidence. It's so easy to see right now. He's thinking too much. There's second guessing going on. He needs to go out there, play, think like it's Towson. Go out there, shoot your shots, get your looks, and make sure they come in the offense. And don't try and play hero ball that I think got him yanked at one point in the Kentucky game, right? Play within the offense, get your shots off, and it'll work because he's a good shooter. He's shown that in his career, and he'll figure it out. It just might take some time.
Couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Eastern Illinois is the opponent tonight, and these games are kind of ones that are generally met with eye rolls when you see them on the schedule because, of course, Kansas should be able to take care of business against Eastern Illinois. You don't want to overstate necessarily the importance of these games, but just how important is this game for that collection of guys at the 2 and the 3, Jackson, Timberlake, McDowell, Johnny Furphy, who we haven't really talked about. How important is a night like this and a game like this for gaining confidence and maybe even gaining the trust of Bill Self?
I agree, right? It's just that. It's building continuity. This is a team that is still learning how to play together. And even if this game is not going to tell us a ton about KU in March, it can go a long way in creating those on-court relationships and that bond that you see when good teams play together. And you can see KU pass the ball really well a lot of the time, right? When KU is playing at its best, the ball is moving, right? I mean, they're averaging, I think they've got like 75% of their baskets this season have been assisted. So you need now these bench guys and role guys to come in and be able to continue that ball movement, that flow that you see when this team looks at its best. And a game like tonight is perfect for that. It's perfect for someone like McDowell to come in and build confidence, for Furphy to continue to get his feet under him defensively and figuring out what Bill Self wants from him playing on the perimeter. So these are the games that, again, they're not going to tell us, oh, well, what's KU's weaknesses. It's emphasizing these are where KU is strong, and these are the relationships that need to be built over time so that when Big 12 play does come around, these guys have the confidence and the trust from Bill Self to go out there and play, so that it's not a 6-man rotation. And at the end of the season, we're listening to Bill Self or anyone talk about how tired the team is. So these are the games I think are really important in just establishing that rotation and getting guys confident.
Last one for you, Michael. Give me a time of game where we start to see Bill Self go to the walk-ons tonight.
Ooh, I think the under 4. That seems about right. I don't know if we'll do the under 8 thing again, but I think probably under 4 timeout.
That's when we'll look for the Michael Jankoviches of the world tonight as KU takes on Eastern Illinois at Allen Fieldhouse. Michael Swain will have coverage of that at fog.net, as well as everything Kansas Jayhawk athletics. Visit fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Subscribe, become a VIP today. Check out Michael on Twitter at mswain247, and of course, hear him every Tuesday on this program for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you then.
That is Michael Swain. Yes, Jayhawks and Panthers tonight. Eastern Illinois, better known for being Tony Romo's alma mater than I suppose for anything else. First time they've ever played in basketball. I have not seen, and I'm going to pull it up for my own edification here, what the Vegas line for tonight's game is. Guess it's probably in the 30s would be my guess. Oh, yeah. 38.5 is your line tonight. Kansas favored by 38.5. If you want to bet the money line, too damn bad. It's not on the board right now from our friends at FanDuel. KU and K-State both in action tonight. K-State's got Oral Roberts, and the Wildcats are 14.5-point favorites if you're curious about that. You're going to be able to hear that one right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll have pregame coverage getting underway as soon as we're done here on 580 Sports Talk, making way for the tip-off from Bramlage Coliseum at 7 p.m. So lots of college hoops. We'll talk a little bit more about both of those games in the 5 o'clock hour. Obviously, there shouldn't be much intrigue to the results in Lawrence, and Kansas State should also take care of business against Oral Roberts. I know that's a 30-win team from last year, but they lost their best player and their head coach, and Kansas State should be able to beat them. Again, 14.5-point favorites. But we'll talk a little bit about some things to watch from tonight's game. Both of them are televised on ESPN Plus, Big 12 Now tonight. Or, again, you can listen to the Wildcats right here on 580 WIBW. Also coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines to start things off, including the latest on a potential destination for Will Howard. We'll also talk about a couple of college football head coaching hires and one offensive coordinator hire that is certainly offensive. We'll also tell you who the Pro Football Hall of Fame semifinalists are for the class of 2024. And I have some thoughts on YouTube highlights and one sports broadcaster in particular that is being way too ridiculous about YouTube highlights. That's all coming up in the final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Final hour of the day on 580 Sports Talk. On this Tuesday afternoon, Dan Lucero riding solo with you the rest of the way. Glad you're along for the ride, however you're tuned in, whether you're listening on 580 WIBW, on FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, or on the YouTube stream. We are on YouTube streaming all of our programming every single day live and archiving it so you can go back and watch past shows. So maybe you will be hearing me say these words, and it's a couple of hours from when I am saying them right now, which is 5:07 Central Time on Tuesday, the 28th of November, 2023. Maybe you'll find this video. Maybe you'll be watching it 5 years down the road for God knows what reason. And if that's you, then hello to you, future viewer. And also hello to all of you current viewers of the YouTube stream. Check us out again. Go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. All of our video content is there for your live and archived viewing pleasure. Hello to Vance and Mark hanging out in the YouTube comments. Thanks for the nice words about my hat, Mark. I appreciate that. I have lots of hats I like personally. Otherwise, I wouldn't own them. But it's always nice to hear someone else say that they like my hat. I'm wearing a Denver Nuggets hat today. It's the 47 brand, maybe more popularly known anymore as the dad hat. You know, kind of that relaxed fitted cap, not like the upright new era on-field baseball style cap, which I got a few of those. But as I have grown up, I have defaulted a little bit more to the dad hat. The comfort, the fit, I'm growing into the look. I wouldn't have worn a hat like this 10 years ago. Maybe not even 5 years ago, but growing into it. So appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you tuning in. And we're going to have a fun final hour here of 580 Sports Talk. Whole gang will be back tomorrow, although when we'll get Brendan back will be a mystery because Brendan is far away. He is in Brookings, South Dakota tonight, broadcasting Washburn women's basketball. It is an exhibition game for the Ichabod women as they take on Division I South Dakota State. Pre-game coverage at 6:45 and the tip-off at 7 on our home for the Ichabods, our sister station, Classic Country 106.9. So that's where Brendan is, and he'll stay the night and make the drive back tomorrow morning. So he'll join Jake and I at some point on tomorrow's show. But we'll have the whole gang back tomorrow. Just me for the final hour of the show. We will preview tonight's college basketball games, both KU and K-State playing what you call bye games tonight. K-State hosting Oral Roberts, KU welcoming Eastern Illinois to Allen Fieldhouse. Both games tip at 7. You can watch them both on Big 12 Now and ESPN+. You can listen to the Cats right here, of course, on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pre-game starting right when we're done at 6, and the tip-off again at 7 o'clock. But before we get there, it's time for the 580 Sports Talk headlines, how we open every 5 o'clock hour here on the program. Catch you up on all of the happenings in the sports world. We start with a hyper-local focus as a former Kansas State Wildcat and a Lawrence native is promoted to the 53-man roster of the Kansas City Chiefs. Echo Boydo has been elevated to the 53-man roster this week. He's been with the practice squad the entirety of his rookie professional season, but the Chiefs had a vacancy on their 53-man roster after McCole Hardman was placed on injured reserve. And Boydo, who was born in Ghana but raised in Lawrence, has been promoted to the 53-man roster. So there is a chance that Boydo may make his NFL debut this Sunday in Green Bay when the Chiefs take on the Packers. That's Sunday Night Football, by the way. In case you weren't aware, maybe you felt like it's been a while since the Chiefs have been in prime time. Maybe you didn't feel that way because it really hasn't been, because it's been 2 weeks. They were on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago. But they are on Sunday Night Football this week. And we could see someone who is from nearby and played his college ball just down I-70 in Manhattan make his debut. So congratulations. That's got to be a great feeling for Echo Boydo. Put in the work, an undrafted player, stuck with the practice squad, and now being elevated to the 53-man roster. That's a great moment for Boydo, who was a terrific member of the Big 12 champion Wildcats last year. So that is the hyper local news that will give you to kick off the 580 Sports Talk headlines. How about the latest on Will Howard? Of course, yesterday we talked at length about the K-State quarterback's decision to enter the transfer portal and end his Wildcat career, with him having graduated and owning 1 year of eligibility that he can use immediately wherever he chooses. And with, of course, Avery Johnson waiting in the wings in Manhattan, it was probably good for all parties involved that Howard move on. Well, Pete Nakos of On3 had a little bit of rumor mongering today regarding Will Howard, saying that he has a source that tells him possible landing spots include Washington, Louisville, Kentucky, Auburn, and Mizzou. I got to imagine there'd be some K-State fans who say, look, Will, we're willing to pull for you and everything. You'll always have a special place in our heart as a conference championship quarterback at Kansas State. But don't make us root for you at Mizzou, man. I got to imagine there's some of that reaction from K-State fans upon seeing that rumor. There has also been some rumoring out there. I don't know if rumoring is a verb. Rumor mongering is. Let's stick with that. Although that kind of has a negative connotation. And the people that I've heard this rumor from, they don't do a lot of mongering. So there has been some speculation. That might be the nicer way to put it. There has been some speculation that Notre Dame could also be interested in Will Howard's services for his grad year. All of the programs in question here are losing a starting quarterback. Brady Cook probably leaving Mizzou for the NFL draft. Kentucky's losing Devin Leary. Louisville's losing Jack Plummer. Washington is going to lose Michael Penix. He'll declare for the NFL draft. If you watched Auburn, they can't throw the ball. So any quarterback would be an upgrade over Peyton Thorne at Auburn. If you watch the Iron Bowl, I think they completed 6 passes. Still almost won the game, but only completed 6 passes in a college football game, and you're not Army or a service academy or a program that runs the triple. Yeah, you need a quarterback. So Auburn certainly feels like a program that would be in the mix. And as it pertains to Notre Dame, Sam Hartman is going to leave. Sam Hartman is out of eligibility after he was a grad transfer quarterback. It's a little odd to think of Notre Dame needing to go to the portal for a 1-year quarterback twice in a row. You would think they'd have an heir apparent by now, right? Like, it's Notre Dame we're talking about here. How do you not have the next Jimmy Clausen, Ron Paulus? Now I'm really showing my age. Between this and the dad hat, this is not a good segment for beating the washed allegations personally here. But that is the speculation. Also, Nakos reports the grad transfer is not shutting down the possibility of entering the NFL draft. While Howard is in the portal and openly looking for a school to finish out his college career, he's been graded by some scouts as a 4th to 6th round prospect. That's with just an average pro day, too. We talked about this yesterday when we were discussing the news about Howard's transfer. Is he has got the physical size and the arm strength to, I think, get a serious look as an NFL prospect. Now, there are degrees, obviously, of serious looks. Will Howard as a prospect is not Caleb Williams, is not Michael Penix, is not Drake May, is not probably Bo Nix. But more than 4 quarterbacks get drafted every year. A lot of teams are happy to draft a quarterback, take a flyer, see if maybe they can develop even just a backup or a 3rd string guy that they can have on hand in their camp. There are 32 NFL teams. That means there are 96 quarterback jobs at any given time in the NFL. And that's not counting guys on practice squads. Everybody's got at least 3, right? Why can't Will Howard be one of the 96? I think that's entirely possible. I would not be surprised to see him end up on an NFL roster and carve out a couple of years maybe even as a backup, if not a number 3. But at least it seems to be that the priority for Howard is finding another school. And of course, if he has a good year as a grad transfer, he could potentially boost his draft stock even further. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know that Will Howard we saw, obviously the Will Howard we saw in 2022 was dramatically improved from the Will Howard we had seen the years before that. But I don't know that 2023 Will Howard was dramatically improved. I don't know that there's a ton more growth. And maybe I'm wrong, because goodness knows I have been wrong loudly on these airwaves about Will Howard's potential before. But I think he's probably what he is as an NFL prospect. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he ends up deciding, let's just dip my toe in the draft now. And if I'm a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, great. If I get a camp invite, great. But let's go get paid. Let's go get go try and get some NFL money to play football at the next level. So that's the rumor. It is interesting, too, that in this story, Notre Dame was not mentioned. There had been, again, some speculation about Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is Notre Dame. I mean, they any quarterback who hits the portal, who is a top caliber quarterback, Notre Dame is going to be high on whoever's list. So unless Notre Dame were zeroed in on Will Howard, he might have some competition if that was someplace that he had some mutual interest in. But anyway, it's all speculation to this point, and whatever Will Howard decides to do, I know that lots and lots, the overwhelming majority of Kansas State fans join me in wishing him the best. We did have somebody ask us on the text line yesterday about Will's brother. Ryan Howard is part of the recruiting class of 2024 for K-State, his younger brother. And I know that there were some worries potentially about whether or not he'd maintain his commitment and go to Kansas State if his brother was not going to be there. Well, we have an answer, at least for now. GoPowerCat.com's Ryan Wallace spoke to Ryan Howard and tweeted earlier today, quote, asked EMA24 pledge Ryan Howard about his commitment status now that Big Brother has exited. Quote, I am still firmly committed to Kansas State. So there you go. Firmly committed to Kansas State for Ryan Howard. And that's positive because K-State is going to graduate a lot of experience and a lot of talent on the offensive line. And they need guys to fill that void. They need to recruit well on the offensive line because I don't know that this will always be the case, but it certainly has seemed like the case early on in this era of the transfer portal that you can't really build an offensive line from the transfer portal. Ask Coach Prime how that went for him, right? Like, you can make it shake. You can get a couple of guys at wide receiver or running back or defensive line or your defensive backfield. You get a couple of linebackers. You can get a quarterback out of the portal. You can make that all work. And maybe you can get one O-lineman to plug in, maybe even two. But by and large, you're not building an offensive line out of the portal. You have to find those guys, get them to commit as high school seniors, get them into your program, get them on your nutrition program, get them on your weight program, and develop them. That seems to be the way to build an O-line. And Kansas State's had great success doing that year over year, but they're losing a lot. So they need to recruit these next couple of years. They're going to be very important recruiting classes for Kansas State up front. Ryan Howard's a big part of that, and it looks like, contrary to some, I think, justified concerns, he will remain a part of that 2024 recruiting class for K-State. Let's stay in college football with our next 580 Sports Talk headlines. Couple of schools getting ready to announce head coaching hirings One of them, in fact, already did. It's Syracuse, who fired Dino Babers a couple of weeks ago. Dino Babers was there a while at Syracuse, and for a moment looked like he had the orange going in the right direction. That's not a real easy job, Syracuse. And there was a time when it looked like Dino had them cooking. They went 10-3 and won the Camping World Bowl, finished 15th in the country back in 2018. Since then, 5 wins, 1 win, 5 wins, 7 wins, and a bowl, and 5-6 this year before he was fired. Now, Syracuse beat Wake Forest this past weekend, so they're going to a bowl this year for the second straight year, but that was not good enough. The possibility of that was not good enough to maintain Babers' employment. He ended up going 41-55 there over 8 seasons. Anyway, Syracuse has hired their new head coach. They made the announcement. They did the Photoshop and everything on their Twitter account. It's Fran Brown. And that may not be a name you know real well, but Fran Brown has been one of the best position coaches in the country and arguably the best recruiter in the country. In fact, when you go to Syracuse's official website, the headline is Fran Brown, nation's #1 recruiter, tapped to lead Orange football. So Fran Brown, he is the defensive backs, or was the defensive backs coach at the University of Georgia. He is a native of New Jersey. He has been on the Georgia coaching staff and is, according to 24/7 Sports, the #1 recruiter in the nation for the 2024 recruiting class. And given his connections to the Northeast, which includes coaching stops at Rutgers and Temple, he should have a pretty good recruiting base to try and get the kind of players you need to get up in the Northeast to win consistently at Syracuse. It's also a noteworthy hire because Fran Brown happens to be black, and you can probably count on one hand the number of Power 5 programs that have hired consecutive black head coaches. Like the number of black head coaches at the Power 5, it's never a high number. You almost never see programs hire back to back. And Dino Babers being followed by Fran Brown, I think that is noteworthy in that way. It is noteworthy that a Power 5 program hired back to back black head coaches. So Fran Brown takes that job. Also, in the group of 5, San Diego State, reportedly, this is according to Pete Thamel, and other sources have jumped on this as well, they have zeroed in on their next head coach, Sean Lewis, the current offensive coordinator at Colorado, previously head coach at Kent State. This one's interesting for a lot of reasons. It was a up and down year for Sean Lewis at Colorado. It was an up and down year for the University of Colorado's football program. Sean Lewis was hired, left a head coaching job to be an offensive coordinator. And through 4 games, Colorado had one of the most exciting, one of the most sexy offenses in all of Power 5 football. And then that changed rather abruptly. And it changed to the point where Deion Sanders stripped Lewis of the play calling duties, gave them to longtime NFL assistant coach Pat Shurmur. By the way, Deion, in promoting Pat Shurmur, who had been an analyst, in promoting him to a sideline role, he had to demote a coach. He ended up demoting Tim Brewster, who's one of the best recruiters in the country, former head coach at Minnesota. And Brewster left the staff earlier this week at the end of Colorado's season. Meanwhile, Colorado currently ranks 64th in the recruiting composite by 24/7 Sports for the class of 2024. 64th out of all of the FBS teams. That's just 2 spots higher than Colorado State. Deion may not be hard to find, but apparently kids who want to go play for him are at this point. Anyway, back to Sean Lewis. Lewis left the Kent State job. And Kent State, in case you are not aware, is a really hard place to win football games. When Lewis guided Kent State to a win in the Frisco Bowl in 2019, that was the first bowl win in the history of Kent State football. The first one. They never won one. They've only ever won one conference championship in the history of the school. And that was back in 1972 when the MAC played 5 league games. They went 4-1. They were 6-5-1 that year. They've only been to 5 bowl games in their history. Sean Lewis got them there twice in 3 years to bowl eligibility. So it is hard to win at Kent State. Sean Lewis pulled it off. I think he's going to be a really good head coach. The other reason this is interesting for San Diego State in particular, San Diego State's previous head coach was Brady Hoke. He is retiring. I don't know if it's a real retirement or he's being asked to retire, but it was pretty clear that things had gone stale in his second go round in San Diego, and it was probably time for him to move on. But San Diego State football has spent the better part of the last decade plus playing some unwatchable offensive football. Even their good teams have not been particularly fun to watch on the offensive side. Now, they've had some explosive offensive players. Rashad Penny was a first-round pick, but their offenses have not been fun to watch, and they've been especially grim the last couple of years. And that's a problem for San Diego State because they just built a brand-new stadium. They used to play in the old I don't know what the heck they were calling it when they finally took it down, but I remember it as Jack Murphy Stadium or Qualcomm Stadium. They played in the old Charger Stadium for years. When that was torn down, San Diego State built a brand new stadium, and they can't fill it. They can't get anybody to go because the team's not fun to watch. Sean Lewis makes you fun to watch right off the rip. I don't know if he's going to win big. I don't know if they're going to win a bunch of Mountain West titles. I'll bet they'll be in the mix, and I know they'll be fun to watch, and they'll get people in the seats with that offense. And that matters. That means something. Let's continue our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Staying in college football, it is being reported as a done deal that Arkansas, who suffered through a miserable year, has chosen a new offensive coordinator. They hired Dan Enos to be the offensive coordinator before this season. Enos had previously been a head coach. Then he was an assistant at Alabama, an analyst there. Did a little image rehab working for Nick Saban. Sam Pittman hired him as his OC, and the Arkansas offense was stinky butt. It was so revoltingly bad this year. Even with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, they were still a tire fire on offense. So they need a new offensive coordinator, and they found one, and his name is Bobby Petrino. You, of course, know how funny this is, provided you know a single thing about Petrino's history, including the fact that he was once the head coach at Arkansas, until he could no longer be the head coach at Arkansas because people found out that he was having an affair with one of his football staffers and gave her $20,000 for a new car under the table. And that she was on the back of his motorcycle when he got into a motorcycle wreck. You guys remember the picture, right? Like, I'd throw it up on the YouTube, but I feel like you can see it in your head. Bobby Petrino at that press conference with road rash all over his face and the neck brace. You know the funniest thing about that picture? Not that the guy's face is half hamburger or anything like that. The funniest part of that picture is the hat he was wearing. He didn't choose that hat by accident. He's not up there wearing an Arkansas Razorback hat answering questions. You know what his hat says? His hat says Sugar Bowl, as in the Sugar Bowl that he took the Arkansas Razorbacks to as a head coach. And he picked that hat on purpose, just to remind you, you might want to run me out of town behind this, but let me remind you how good I am at this. Let me remind you about the level I got your football program to. So before you run me out for being a scumbag, which, again, Arkansas kind of had to do and ultimately did, remember how good I am. And there was a time Bobby Petrino was one of the best offensive minds in all of college football. I don't know if that is still the case. I really and truly don't know if Petrino is still that highly regarded, or if, as happens to many assistants, many schemers, the game passes them by a little bit. The game evolves and they don't. I know that his offense wasn't good enough to save Jimbo Fisher's job at Texas A&M this year. But somebody at Arkansas wanted him back, and so he's back. And I cannot believe that that person is Sam Pittman. I don't believe for a second that Sam Pittman has anything to do with this, in fact, because Pittman already is not super popular for the last offensive coordinator he chose. He can't stand up in front of those people and say, hey, here's Bobby Petrino. Remember him? He's back, baby. He's going to call plays for me. You can't really do that with a guy that your school terminated with cause. It has to be a different influence, I would say. I would say there was a stronger hand than Sam Pittman's who made this happen. But it is deeply, deeply funny. And it gives people an excuse to dig out the photograph of Bobby Petrino with all that road rash and that big bulky neck brace and that Sugar Bowl hat. Just to remember who I am. Just remember how good I am at this. Vance on the YouTube comments asked if that was the stripper with the monkey sidekick. No, that is a different college football scandal. That was Texas a couple of years ago with the monkey that bit the kid. Different scandal. Different scandal. God, I love college football. It's just the best sport. Anyhow, one more headline I want to get to today before we move on. And it's about Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods is going to play competitive golf this weekend. And no, not that indoor golf that he and Rory McIlroy were going to roll out until a weather event destroyed the indoor golf simulation arena and forced the postponement of their indoor simulator golf league until next year. No, Tiger Woods is going to play a real 72-hole golf event this weekend, the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. This is an event that Tiger Woods has sponsored and put on over years, but he is going to play in it. It will be his first time playing competitive golf since he withdrew from this year's Masters with an injury and ultimately required ankle surgery. Now, Woods talked to the media today and says that the best case scenario for him moving forward for 2024 would be to play about a tournament a month. He says, quote, I would start with maybe the Genesis and something in March near the Players. Again, we have set up right now, the biggest events are one per month. It sets itself up for that. Now, I need to get myself ready for all that. I think this week is a big step in that direction. Tiger Woods is not the same Tiger Woods that once dominated the golf world, but he still dominates in the sense that when he is playing competitive golf, you want to see him play golf. If you are in any way inclined to watch golf, enjoy golf, consume golf, if Tiger Woods is involved, your ears perk up and you get to a TV and you watch the cat do what he does, because nobody's ever done it like him. Nobody's ever done it better, and I don't think anybody's ever going to do it better. So whatever we get of the big cat, Tiger Woods, from now until he hangs up the golf bag for good, is worth dialing in for and worth checking out. And if he's feeling good enough to say a tournament a month in 2024, after what his body has been through the last couple of years since that car accident, then that must mean he's feeling okay. That must mean this ankle surgery got him right. And he's in a frame of mind and he's in a physical place where he can play some competitive golf. And look, again, I realize not everybody is inclined. I'm glad I'm doing this story without Brendan rolling his eyes at me from across the glass, because you know how big a golf fan our guy Brendan is. But if you are in any way a golf fan, when Tiger Woods is playing, you pay attention. You pay more attention. It gives those tournaments a little extra juice, a little extra pizzazz. So I'm excited to see Tiger back on the course. I don't think this is a cut event. The Hero World Challenge, I think it's only like a 40-player event. It's an invitational out there in the Bahamas. So you get to see some of the world's best golfers knock it around, and you get to see Tiger Woods. So, you know, if the conference championship games are a drag on Saturday, or if the NFL slate's a dud on Sunday, which there have been a lot of duds in the NFL, dial up Tiger. See what the cat's up to. I hope he can play a tournament a month. If that's all we get at Tiger Woods until he can't do it anymore, I'd take it. If all he does is play the Genesis at the Riviera in LA in February, and play the Players, and play the majors, and play this, fine. I'm good with that. I'd be excited by that. That's going to do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. One other thing we wanted to get to in here, and I'm going to go ahead and actually carve out our own segment for it. The semifinalists for the modern era for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024 were announced today. Tell you who those are and who I think should be a finalist. That's coming up as we continue this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 538 on 580 Sports Talk. Some breaking news. Another K-State Wildcat is into the transfer portal. Cornerback Will Lee III posting on his socials that he plans to enter the portal with 2 years of eligibility remaining. Will Lee had a pretty good year for the Cats, interrupted by injury, but did intercept a couple of passes and force a fumble. Ended up with 6 passes defensed as well. But also, his final image as a K-State player might be him giving Abu Sama a nice little shove on his way to the end zone on one of those long touchdown runs in the snow in that loss to Iowa State. I've never seen a player make a play like Will Lee made on that play, where he caught up with Sama from behind and just kind of like shouldered him further forward, like giving him a turbo boost toward the end zone. It was so strange. I think he thought he was going to knock him off balance, and that absolutely did not happen. It was the strangest tackle attempt, and one of the worst that I've ever seen. But that's not fair to distill a player's entire impact into just one play. Will Lee was a solid member of the defensive backfield for Kansas State, and he's going to transfer with 2 years left on his eligibility. So that's a loss. That's a loss for K-State. That's the first one into the portal where I feel like, yeah, man, I'd rather have him than not next year. That's tough, because the cornerback room was really young this year, and K-State, though, has done a good job in the portal grabbing players. Lee himself was a JUCO kid, so I suspect, again, that Kansas State will find somebody there. But I liked Lee's size and generally liked his physicality, and I think that's a bit of a loss for Kansas State. Pro Football Hall of Fame announced the 25 modern era semifinalists for the class of 2024 today. The list starts at 100 and I think it was 173. Yes, 173 were nominated from the modern era. Cut to 25 semifinalists. This list will then be reduced to 15 finalists before the final voting process. 3 players are semifinalists for the first time ever. Antonio Gates and Julius Peppers are on their first year on the ballot, period. And they went right to being a semifinalist. Now, you can be a semifinalist one year and then not the next year. It just kind of depends on how the process goes. And then you can be a finalist or an initial nominee and not a semifinalist. That is what has happened to Tiki Barber, who has been on the ballot a few times, but this year is a semifinalist for the first time. So here's the list of the 25. These are the 25 semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, former Chief, tackle Willie Anderson, running back Tiki Barber, wide receiver Anquan Bolden, guard Jari Evans, linebacker London Fletcher, defensive end Dwight Freeney, tight end Antonio Gates, Eddie George, James Harrison, Rodney Harrison, Devin Hester, Torrey Holtz, Andre Johnson, Robert Mathis, Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Fred Taylor, Hines Ward, Ricky Waters, Reggie Wayne, Vince Wilfork, Patrick Willis, and Darren Woodson. To start with, it's hard to get that list from 25 down to 15. It's hard. I don't think any of the players on this list would make the Hall of Fame worse, right? But you got to cut 10. Hard task for the Hall of Fame voters. They're going to deliberate over it. I'm going to do it in like 2 minutes. I'm just going to scan the list and tell you. Tiki Barber, no. It's kind of mean, but Tiki Barber, no. Robert Mathis, a no for me. Fred Taylor, Ricky Waters, a no. I'm being mean to running backs. Good players, but just not to me. They don't get to the finalist level. Hines Ward, no. That's personal. I never liked Hines Ward. Dirty player. Just didn't like him. You know what? While we're eliminating players I didn't like, James Harrison, Rodney Harrison, no, get him out of here. Okay, that's 7. Now I got to eliminate 3 more. It's not fair to Eric Allen, but I don't have a lot of memories of Eric Allen as a player, so no to him. No to Willie Anderson, the tackle, former Bengal and Raven. And I'll eliminate one more, and it'll be, tough. So hard. One more off the list. It's going to be, I'd say Jari Evans, but then I'm being mean to offensive linemen. I'm kicking all the offensive linemen off. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kick off the only Chief, Jared Allen, either. It's going to have to be a wide receiver, Reggie Wayne. Sorry, Reg. You were never the best receiver on your own team. It was always that other guy whose name we can't say but has a really talented son. So those are those would be my cuts. If I got to make cuts to the list, that would leave me, I guess, with Jared Allen, Anquan Bolden, Jari Evans, London Fletcher, Dwight Freeney, Antonio Gates, Eddie George, Devin Hester, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Vince Wilfork, Patrick Willis, Darren Woodson. Yeah, I'm happy with that 15. I can live with that. See, the committee's going to deliberate, and they're going to be in a room and yelling at each other, and I just solved it in 2 minutes. You're welcome. We'll take a quick break, come back, preview tonight's college basketball action, KU, K-State, both in action tonight. We'll talk about it next here on 580 Sports Talk. We're rounding third, heading for home on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Dan. It's just me for the rest of the program for this final hour. Have a texter from the 402. You can hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. Talking about Pro Football Hall of Fame. Text from the 402 asks if I think Jordy Nelson will ever get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't. And that's not to say he wasn't a great player, but typically you have to have been a first-team All-Pro to make the Hall of Fame, and Nelson never got there. He led the league in touchdowns one year, but he was only a second-team All-Pro that year. And I think he was comeback player of the year once as well. I want to make sure that's correct. He was coming off of an injury, and I think he won comeback player of the year. 2016, after he missed all of 2015, he was comeback player of the year. That was the year he led the league in touchdowns. 2014, he was a second team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. That was the only time he earned either of those honors. So He's, I think, in the Packer Hall of Fame or their Ring of Honor or however they honor players there in Green Bay. But I think that's a resume that ultimately falls short of Canton, which no shame in that. A lot of guys can say that. But Hall of Very Good, I'm willing to say Jordy Nelson belongs in for sure. College hoops tonight. KU and K-State both are in action. It is the Jayhawks taking on Eastern Illinois and the Wildcats facing Oral Roberts. K-State's KU is a 38.5-point favorite. I got nothing for you on Eastern Illinois. They have a young man who goes by the name Tiger Booker. He's a guard from Chicago. They've got a Sunrise kid, Sunrise Christian Academy down there in Wichita. Isaiah Griffin is a freshman on the team. That's what I got for you on Eastern Illinois with a quick scan of their roster. Their most recent game, they played a very real-sounding school called Eureka College and beat them by nearly 50. I think they will find the sledding to be a bit tougher against the Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse tonight. The biggest thing for Kansas in this game, they have got to get minutes and confidence for Nick Timberlake and Elmarco Jackson and Jamari McDowell and Johnny Furphy. And Furphy in particular, by most accounts, he's the one with the most bounce, the most athletic ability of the four candidates to play a bunch of two guard around the established four of Harris and McCullough and Adams and Dickinson. I want to see Furphy play with that lineup. I want to see him get a lot of minutes with those four guys and see how he can complement them. Because we've seen Elmarco get the minutes with them, and we've seen Jamari get minutes with them. I haven't seen a ton of Timberlake minutes. Sounds like he is going to be healthy to play. I know he took a knock in Maui, but it sounds like he's going to be okay to play tonight. But I want to see Furphy with those first four. He didn't have to start necessarily, but I want to see how it looks. Because I think that's the highest upside play, I think, of the four. Athletically speaking, is Furphy playing alongside your big four, if you will, for KU. Like, the Jayhawks know who their four best players are, and they've got a serviceable backup big in Parker Brown. They just got to figure out who's going to start at the two, who's going to give Harris a breather. Probably, honestly, that'll be McCullough handling the point if Harris is out, so that might be a moot point. But who's going to give McCullough a breather? Who's going to start at that two spot? Who's going to play some three, and who can help that lineup? And we'll continue to see Bill Self, I think, tinker and search for some answers to that question tonight against the Panthers. As for K-State, Jerome Tang talked to the media yesterday, and the one thing he continues to harp on is consistency. He does not feel as though his team has played consistently good basketball on their way to their 4-2 record. I think he's right. I think that they are playing like a team here early in the season that is still getting to know each other in much the same way that Kansas is. I think that Tyler Perry is still growing into the role that they need him to play. Cam Carter is still growing into a leadership role. They are still missing a guy like Quest Glover, who I think is going to be an important glue player for them. And there's still no timetable for Naquan Tomlin's return, even though he was with the team at the Central Arkansas game, looked to be in good spirits, high-fiving fans. That process has not completed itself to Jerome Tang's satisfaction to welcome Tomlin back to the team yet. So they've got what they've got. But Tang talked about how important games like this one against Oral Roberts are for his young guys to continue to gain confidence, but also find that consistency and find that success. Now, Oral Roberts won 30 games last year, made it to the NCAA tournament. They've got 4 seniors from that team. 4 seniors. They don't obviously have Max A. Smith, and they don't have their head coach, Paul Mills, who left, of course, for Wichita State. The Golden Eagles' most recent game was against Texas Southern. They won that by 2, but they played Texas A&M tough at College Station. Texas A&M is really good. They played the Aggies tough, lost that game by just 8. So this isn't going to be a walk in the park necessarily for K-State tonight, but it's still a game that you would expect them to win. You can hear that game right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Pregame starting when we're done here at 6 o'clock, the tip-off from Bramlage at 7. We're going to take one final break, come back with a final word on this edition of 580 Sports Talk after this. Wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. You might root for a lousy sports team or two. If you're listening to this, you might be a Kansas City Royals fan. And I know that's kind of been a grim existence here the last year or so. But if you root for the Chicago Blackhawks right now, this is what you're dealing with. You are dealing with one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League. In fact, by points, they are tied for the lowest total in all of the NHL, with only 6 wins in their first 19 games, a total of 12 points. You are also dealing with the dismissal from the team earlier today of veteran forward Corey Perry, who was brought to the team, it was thought, to bring a little bit of mentorship for their star young player, a former number 1 overall draft pick, Connor Bedard, being maybe a father figure to Bedard. Well, rumors were being spread that perhaps Perry was taking that bit about being a father figure a little too literally as it pertains to his relationship to Connor Bedard's mother. That was a real rumor that was going around social media today, that's why Corey Perry wasn't on the Blackhawks anymore. And the Blackhawks had to address that rumor and dismiss it. So no matter how bad the team you root for is, at least they're not having to deny rumors that one of their players is sleeping with another one of their players' moms. That's rough. K-State Hoops is next. This is 580 Sports Talk.